Penzi wasikilizaji, tukiwa tumekuandalia taarifa za kusisimua, mziki wa kukata viungo na kindumbwendumbwe cha siasa au politics ukipenda. Now tonight's show is brought to you courtesy of money transfer app Lemfi. The One Mic Show is offering $30 for the first $100 sent on your first transaction using the code One Mic. Just click on the link pinned in the comments, both on YouTube and on our Facebook. Now we are streaming live on Facebook from Kilimanjaro Studios outside Washington, D.C. We'll shortly be going live on YouTube, so call all your YouTube friends. Please remember to subscribe to both our YouTube and Facebook pages at The One Mic Show. Follow us on Instagram at One Mic Show, and now we are also on TikTok. We're also taking live calls at 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. So save that number when we start taking live calls later on today. Now, later tonight, we'll discuss the underrepresentation of Kenyans in local US politics. Why is our community plugged on politics back home, but disconnected from their local politics in the US? We'll also discuss with our guest the upcoming presidential elections and her party's candidate Kamala Harris. Then we'll also address why we still see some Kenyans showing support for Donald Trump. Now, feel free to start dropping comments below and let us know what you think and where you're tuned in from. Na bila kusahau, tunapokea mziki wetu toka DJ Machachari, mleta habari DJ Omoshfai, ambayo hayupo leo. You're actually receiving music from DJ Bandit. Na tutadunda kule viwanjani na Mika Ojezi yake nambari 7 mgongoni, akituletea habari za michezo. Na moja kwa moja toka Kilimanjaro Studios, mimi mtangazaji na mwanahabari wako mpendwa Ali Badawi. Kwetu wananiita mteule, na wengine mnite mjukuu wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, and Masai by choice. Asichagui, sikagui, na sibagui. Karibuni.
Now, let's talk politics.
Now this hour we'll be talking to the Democratic candidate for Minnesota House District 38A, Huldah Momanyi Hiltsley. She'll be making a case on why Osio and Brooklyn Park should vote for her. And she'll also give us her story leading to a major upset win in the Democratic primaries that was back in August. So please drop a comment below and tell us where you're tuned in from, what you expect to hear from her, and what you think. And of course, I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawi. It is Friday, the 25th of October. We are streaming live from Kilimanjaro Studios outside Washington, D.C. Please remember to follow The One Mic Show on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and now we are on TikTok. And on panel with me is Mr. One Mic Kamakawa. Sports anchor Mika Och will be joining us via Zoom. And our resident DJ Moshfire is not in today, but DJ Bandit is holding it down on the decks. And not forgetting that super producer is Mubelwa Bandio. So we're going to get started right away because we have so much to cover. I can already see some people are tuned in here. Washeke Ndirangu karibu sana. And I can also see Stephen Bati pale anasema tupo side Sambaza. Thank you so much for gracing the show last week. And thank you so much for tuning in. So make sure you tag your friends in the comments. Type at highlight, at top fans, at everyone, or whatever you need to type. Washeke is saying tuning in from Murima. So you need to verify where Murima is, Washeke. You know, like if it's a state in the US, if it's a city, if it's a town somewhere in Kenya, please tell us where you're tuned in from. And we are going to get started right away. Now, the involvement of African communities in US politics and civic engagement has been limited for the most part. Kenyans in particular have been a timid and peculiar lot, remaining behind the curve on matters relating to their local politics in the US. This, however, is set to change following a big upset win by a Kenyan candidate in a tight Democratic primary race in Minnesota back in August. Now, joining us tonight is the winner of that race and the Democratic candidate for Minnesota House District 38A, Ms. Huldah Momanyi Hiltsley. Now, Huldah narrowly defeated her opponent in a competitive primary. She looks to face Republican Brad Olson in the upcoming November elections in a district that has for years been dominated by people who are not of color. She will possibly be the first candidate of color if she wins this election with your help. Now, Huldah has been intimately involved in leadership matters and elective politics within the Kenyan community in Minnesota and the rest of the community in Minnesota at large. And she'll be giving us more details on this. For now, I want to say, Huldah, karibu sana ndani ya One Mic Show. Just tell us, how are you feeling? How are you doing tonight?
My brothers, thank you so much for having me here. I'm super excited to just engage our community and even our community beyond, right? Just the Kenyan community, because One Mic Show is something that is definitely trending beyond just the Kenyan community. So I'm excited to talk about politics here in the US and how our people can plug in.
Okay, okay. So we are very proud and happy to have you. Now, one thing before we get started, just wanted to first of all extend my apologies to your campaign because we were to host you way earlier during the primaries. And during the primaries, you can understand that's when Kenya was on fire and people were watching. That's when there was a Gen Z uprising for the non-Kenyan audience who are watching. There was the uprising in Kenya, and Kenyans were listening to nothing else. We had been watching your campaign, and we had really wanted to slot you back then, but unfortunately, at that point, there was so many fires being set off and set on and set off in Kenya. So it was not easy. So apologies from the show for that. But now, before actually we get started, actually on the upcoming election, take us back to the night of August 13th. You narrowly defeated Winfred Russell in a race that was described as a hotly contested primary election that pitted two African immigrants by the news website mshale.com. Huldah, describe for us that epic night and what happened and how you felt.
Thank you so much. A lot of times, now that the primaries are done, that question is not being asked. And because of how fast this race is going, I haven't had enough time to go back and really go through that moment. But I remember, from my previous trauma from when I ran in 2022 of again, reliving that nightmare of, not hearing the good news that all of us wants to hear. But I remember that night, my team came out first, and I remember them saying, Huldah, this time is different. We did it. And it was like just this wave of relief, of emotion, of just this heavy lift that has been sitting on my chest all of a sudden has lifted. And it was a special moment, not only to share with my team, but also I was walking it with my parents, and my parents to be there to, share that with me. I remember my mom literally running circles in the parking lot, just praising God, Kenyan style, right? And people walking around going, is she okay? Do we need to call the police? And not really understanding the magnitude of that. And also understanding that that moment possibly determined the outcome of the rest of the race for this district.
Okay, that's very interesting. Stephen JJ here says to Kondani, so people are tuned in from everywhere, and just like you mentioned, House District 38A has not been your first rodeo with elective politics, both within the Kenyan community and also in Minnesota's local politics. Please tell us a bit about your background as far as elective politics is concerned, both from the Kenyan side and also from the Minnesota side. Huldah.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, I've always been involved in my community since at a very young age. I grew up in a home where my parents taught us to give back. I remember living in a home where it wasn't just us. We were always hosting families, and we were always giving back. And so I grew up giving back to the community. And so the older I got, the more involved I got in the community. And I believe I was the secretary within the Kenyan community here in Minnesota, which is the second largest population of Kenyans here in the US. The first, I believe, according to Professor Otiso, is Texas, right? So I really was ingrained in the Kenyan community here by participating in leadership roles. So I was the secretary of Mwanyegetinge, I believe, when I was still in, doing my undergrad back in 2014, 2015, around there. And then in 2021, I was able to rally the community and run a very successful campaign that, won me the presidency of Momanyi Hiltsley organization, which is the largest Kenyan organization in the state of Minnesota and actually in the Midwest, organized Kenyan group. And so that I think was the biggest step for me because it gave me an opportunity to really look at sustainability of our community and really look at, where we were getting resources from and why we weren't addressing the root cause of a lot of the challenges and issues that, we have seen over the years, right? And that's how I got involved in, going to the Capitol and lobbying for, housing resources, small businesses resources, and realizing a lot of this resources, we didn't have access to them, for various factors that played into it. And so, and from there, I continued to get involved within my city and within what we call the Brooklyns. That is Brooklyn Center and Brooklyn Park. And so I got involved politically supporting candidates because I wanted to really champion candidates that would address those core root causes within not only the Kenyan community, but the African immigrant community as a whole in this district that is predominantly African immigrant. And we can definitely go into the details of the demographics within that. So once I started to really ingrain myself in the political side of things, not necessarily the nonprofit, the community side of things, because I realized, we can get a grant, but as soon as that grant is done, that was the end of that. We go back to square one and not necessarily addressing the root cause and creating sustainable change within our community. That's when I realized that real and actual long-term change happens within the political realm, within creating policies that address those, within, the walls of the Capitol in St. Paul. And what did it for me, what really pushed me over the edge is when I went into an event. We were having an event here that the local DFL party was having an event for then the current mayor when he was running. We have been petitioning our senator from my district in regards to various, things here and there. And I remember walking up to the senator and saying, hey, I'm a part of your constituency. Community members and leaders, we've been coming to the Capitol trying to rally your office, but we haven't been able to reach you. And she literally pulled out her card, gave it to me as she was walking away and say, contact my office. And that made me feel invincible. That made me feel like she would have cared less about what I wanted to talk to her about. So after that, she went up and she announced her retirement and endorsed another individual in that meeting. And that is what did it for me. I was like, this is not how democracy works. People have to have a choice. And this is literally how this seat has been handed down to the next quote individual who's been anointed by the party. And so I looked around and I was like, I'm gonna run, and the people around me, and I remember, my brother Chewy Gichana, the one who gave me the baton for the Momanyi Hiltsley presidency, he was there and he just chuckled and he was like, oh, Huldah, like it wasn't a big deal. But I remember that night I couldn't sleep. I could not sleep. I was under the covers Googling, how do I become a candidate? And from there, it snowballed into something that I never thought that it would be. And so I ran for Senate, and we gave a run for my opponent a run for the money. We lost in the primaries because obviously we were very fresh in really running a successful political campaign here in the US. And then after we lost, my team and I regrouped, and here we are running for the second time now with knowledge and experience.
Okay, good. And it's really interesting. It's been a very good summary of your political experience and elective experience in Minnesota, both within the Kenyan community and within the greater Minnesota community. And I can see here we have someone by the name Mesha Komesa. He's saying, let's get Huldah across the finish line. And he has posted a link right there of how you can donate to the campaign, because everybody knows American campaigns, they need money. And when I was talking to you, Huldah, you said the only amount you need is only $20. You know, like if someone could donate $20, the links are right there in the comments. Meshach, if you could also go to the YouTube link, which we're going to share with you. You can just search the One Mic Show on YouTube and you'll find us. You'll find the show live. Please post it there because you have other listeners out there on YouTube. And actually on YouTube, it's interesting. We have Pukimanjaro from Amsterdam. Anasema Amsterdam tuko. Hope everybody had a blessed week. So people are tuned in all the way from Amsterdam. And then we also have Musumba. Musumba saying congrats. You got this and sending you much love. Thanks to the One Mic Show for hosting you. And then we have Wairimo N. Wairimo N says, greetings from the West Coast. Congrats to our Minnesota sister. So everybody, wherever you're listening from, West Coast, East Coast, South Coast, North Coast, whatever coast you're in, Central Coast, the coastal Kenya, make sure, you know, like you can already see the links for donation. And I think that we also on screen, we have some QR codes that you can scan. If you're using a bigger screen, you can scan, and there's a way for donating on Zelle, on the website, on Venmo, and different other ways. So make sure these links are also posted on the YouTube side so that everyone can get to donate. Only $20. Only $20. I mean, of course, if your pockets are heavy, you know, like feel free to donate more. You know, like if you want to donate $200, $100, feel free to donate to get to the finish line, because every dollar matters, every day matters, every second matters as we get towards November 5th. I want to remind the listeners that tonight's show is brought to you courtesy of money transfer app Lemfi. The One Mic Show is offering $30 for the first $100 sent on the app on your first transaction using the code One Mic. If you click on the link that's pinned on both Facebook and on YouTube, you can just click on it and it will automatically get you the code. And then once you send your first $100, you will get $30 back. So guess what you can do with that $30? Once you get that $30 back, you can donate it to Miss Huldah's campaign so that we get her to the finish line. And then I also want to take this opportunity to welcome Mika. Mika has been tuned in. He's on Zoom. He's been listening intently. So Mika, karibu sana to the One Mic Show. Tell us how your week has been briefly and tell us what you expect to hear from Huldah tonight. Mika Och, twende kazi.
Thank you, Ali, and thank you everyone else for joining in today. Wanatonga wapendwa wachangiaji, our loyal fans, thank you for joining us and listening in and spending your Friday with us. I want to thank Ms. Huldah for joining us. Thank you for coming in and talking to us and telling us why you are the best candidate to be voted in your district. And I hope that after today's show, we can be able to rally the numbers to come out and support you to get across the finish line. A lot of Minnesota Kenyans are eligible to vote, so that's a good chunk of people can make a big difference. How my week has been? My week has been okay. I just wiki tuzo kuwa, but I casted my ballot today, so that has been my highlight for the week.
Nice.
Na nimepiga 6 piece. Ile ya code ile.
6 piece. Kama ODM ama ilikuwa ni code?
Ilikuwa ni code ODM, watu walikuwa chaka.
Yeah.
6 piece kila kitu.
Okay.
But then if you look at it, interestingly for us, we only had we had 3 people on the ballot: the presidency. We had the presidency. Where's my ballot?
So this is in Virginia. So you are voting in Virginia.
I was voting in Virginia. Yeah.
Okay.
We did most of our voting last year. We did a lot of our voting last year. But we did a lot of our local elections last year.
Virginia is one of those odd states that has elections in an odd year, which is very weird. I think Virginia, Kentucky, and just a couple of these states, South, they have election in that very odd year, which is quite interesting. So this year, I think of course it's a presidential election, senatorial, and I think there's some local. Yeah, so
it has been. What I voted for was the Senate, and the presidency and the House of Representatives. And
Okay.
then we had voting on changing a law. So there's a proposal that for veterans,
A ballot initiative.
a ballot initiative, yes.
Okay.
So they want to change the law to allow widows and children of veterans to get the tax exemptions of veterans when those veterans die, whether they die while they're deployed or they just die here in America through old age and living. Like, regardless of what it is, as long as a veteran dies, they want their family and their spouses to still continue getting that tax credit
Okay.
that they get when they're still serving. So yes, that is what has been my week today. And I want to encourage everybody, if you can go vote early, go vote early. If you can vote by mail, vote by mail. And just be careful with your vote. There's a lot of games that people are trying to do this year. But again, kura kwa mama.
Okay, aya sawa sawa. Mika there revealing how he placed his votes. Now later on in the show, we're going to talk about the fact that there are a number of Kenyans who are showing open support for Donald Trump. I mean, it's something that's happening within the community. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking about that later on in the show. And then I want to welcome Felipe Osiemo is tuned in. Reza Mochache, thank you so much for tuning in. And then Gerald Oliech says, I like that. I like that. Get into governance to create policy that will foster change. I'm impressed by any leader that is policy oriented. And then Washeke Ndirangu says, Mika ame vote 6 peace agent orange. I think Washeke is trying to spread some rumors. And then I see Emily Migiro anasema, I think Emily has tagged someone. Emily, tell us what you think. Tell us if you're in Minnesota, or tell us where you're tuned in from. Tell us whether you're going to be voting for Huldah, or tell us whether you're going to be contributing on that link that Meshach or Mesa placed right there on how to contribute to Huldah's campaign. Now, just coming back to you, Huldah, you came to the U.S. at the tender age of 9. If my research hasn't failed me, you can correct me if I'm wrong. And it was at the backdrop of a very tough immigration battle that your dad was experiencing and facing deportation. Now, please tell us how this experience shaped and inspired you to create positive change and later on come to run for office. Huldah.
Yes, thank you so much. And that is for me, that is my moment where, how Obama talks about the audacity of hope, right? And so I was 9 years old, and when I first landed in this country, and yes, you're right. My family, fought the immigration system for 11 long years. So most of us know what that battle is. If you've ever dealt with the immigration system, it is complex, it is difficult, and it is heartbreaking for the most part, and it is expensive. So for 11 long years, my parents fought to stay here with us and to really reap the benefits of this country. And so we were 48 hours away from being deported from this country. And my church back then, it was an African American church that that I grew up in, which was very instrumental in really helping me understand Black excellence and the true history of the Black people, African Americans in this country, and their fight for civil rights and what that meant for the rest of us. And so that church, Progressive Baptist Church in St. Paul, Minnesota, rallied then Senator Paul Wellstone, may his soul rest in peace, who went to bat within those 48 hours, calling, USCIS, the immigration, calling whoever he can call to see if there's anything else that the judge could have done. And within those 48 hours, our case was overturned. And who would have ever thought 20 plus years later, I would be sitting here running for a political office, a small girl from, a tiny little city, village, Nyamira in Kisii, Kenya, would be here running for a political office in this country. It's definitely something that even, we always say, I am our ancestors' wildest dreams. I don't think our ancestors were dreaming that, some of us will cross an ocean and run for political office in foreign land. But here we are, and that's the audacity of hope that Obama talks about and what this country stands for, right? And so, for me to be sitting here to run for political office is just a testament of many stories of immigrants in this country. Each one of us we have our own unique stories that makes the beauty and the diversity of this country what it is today.
Okay, amazing. Quite an amazing story, like especially when you're talking about you are, like 48 hours away to deportation, and then a U.S. senator gets involved, and it changes, everything, and you get to stay, and now 20 years later you're here running for office, which is quite amazing, which shows that if you're plugged into your local politics, these things actually do work. Now, before we come back to studio to talk to Unomike has not said anything. I want to read a few comments here. I can see, like people have been commenting. Anna Nunda, welcome to the One Mic Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Emily and Migiro says, I'm in Georgia, receive my diaspora vote in terms of online support. Yes, so there's online support, and there's a link where you can donate. And the link has been posted there by Meshach Omesa. Meshach, please keep posting that link. Don't post it 5, 6, 7 times. Make sure you keep posting it so that people can see it. And there's different ways of contributing, so you can contribute there. And then Emily, again, you are from Georgia. That's one of those what's called a battleground state. So make sure you do what you need to do. You know what you need to do, because those states are the ones that are going to determine who's going to become America's president. So thank you so much for tuning in. And then there's someone else from Georgia. Georgia is being represented in the building tonight. I have Joseph Riro from Georgia. He says, I wish her every bit of success from Georgia. I will be supporting through a small contribution. Thank you so much, Joseph, for that contribution. It will go a long way. Then we have Daniel Munari. Daniel Munari says District 38A will be well served by Huldah, a candidate who will be a true voice that will reflect the diverse population of her district. Go Huldah Momanyi. Daniel, thank you so much, and don't forget to contribute. I can see Meshach has posted that link again. Meshach, make sure you also go to YouTube and post it on that other side. And let me come back to studio. Unomike, real quick, you've been listening to Huldah for the last few minutes. What are your thoughts? What are your expectations? And what has so far, caught your attention from what she said? Unomike, karibu na twende kazi.
Karibu sana Miss Hiltsley. Hiltsley.
Don't worry, he doesn't know how to pronounce. We'll teach him. We shall teach him. Yeah.
Sawa. Huldah, karibu sana. Welcome. And congratulations. Yes, and to piggyback on what Ali had said, we really did intend on, we wanted to get you, but hizo Gen Z protest anaanguka nayo zilikuwa zimeshika. Alafu tukaangushwa. Tukasema tukaangushwa, but ni sawa. Now we are focused. November 5th, the battle is between two. They want one to be lawless, they want the other one to be flawless. So wacha tuende na flawless. I'm a flawless.
Agreed.
I'm a tuende na Mama Kamala. But it is interesting that we have somebody who will be, if elected, will be the first Kenyan here.
Yeah, in a US State
Kenyan Legislature. Kenyan Born.
Because we had Barack.
We had. Yeah, but Kenyan Born.
Yeah, Kenyan Born.
That's amazing, and these are the stories that, at some point, even our kids are seeing this, and they'll be like, oh, even me, I can, and actually Huldah reminds me of Annette Karanja. Yeah, because slowly by slowly she's weaving her way. She's trying to she's very political. So someone like Huldah will probably be one of those resources and a point of contact, somebody who can encourage her. And all we are saying is vote and push, and let's get Huldah across the finish line. Kinda.
Yes, and all the details are there, and we also have some QR codes that will be moving on and off from the screen.
Actually, let me put them right now and give people about a few 10 seconds, because I tried and then it moved away too quick.
Okay, yeah.
There is Ohapo. Let's get Huldah across the finish line. We have got donate, Zelle, and website.
Yes, so
we got the QR code.
Yes, you got the QR code. Make sure, and if you don't know how to use a QR code, you're living in the Stone Age, we got you. We've posted. Meshach Omesa has been posting in the comments,
Yes.
and he's gonna keep posting it through the show. Make sure you donate. You can donate online. You can donate. Like there's Venmo, there's Zelle. Like there's the only one that's not here
Is
is
M-Pesa.
because M-Pesa now when it comes to US elections, that's problematic. But you have all these other different options here, and even those people who are old school, paper check. There's a place where you can send a paper
Yes.
check, and it will be received. And all these dollars matter, especially towards the end. Votes matter. Like it's interesting when I was looking at the results of the primary. You actually won by 50 votes, not 50,000, not 5,000, not 500, but by exactly 50 votes.
Hamsini.
50.
Mirongo itano.
Yes, I was looking at the results and I was like, are these results really, which goes to show you, like any one person who we can get onto the ballot box really matters. And we're going to be talking about that primary race later on in the show. For now, I want to remind the listeners that you're tuned into the One Mic Show. I'm your host and producer, Ali Badawi, and we're here talking to the Democratic candidate for Minnesota House District 38A, Ms. Huldah Momanyi Hiltsley. She's facing Republican Brad Olson in November, and she's here making a passionate case on why District 38A should vote for her. For those not in her district, she's kindly requesting you donate at least $20. $20 only. Not a lot of money. This is money that I'm sure right now, someone is somewhere drinking that money. Just $20.
Drinking what?
Drinking the money.
Okay.
Like those who know, they know. There's someone somewhere who's drinking the money.
Water.
Those who know, they know.
Coconut juice.
Yeah. So she's kindly requesting you donate at least $20 to a campaign to get her to the finish line. Of course, you've been seeing the QR codes. We've been also posting, Meshach has been posting, the links of how you can donate on the streams. I'm not sure if we already have it on YouTube. I'm going to go out there and check. Then we have the QR codes that have been randomly streaming on the screens. Please be kind and open up your wallets. We'll shortly be talking to Denise Butler. So Denise Butler, if you can hear this, call the number 202-683-4570 and press *5. Keep a hold there. Now we're going to be talking to Denise Butler, who's part of Huldah's campaign team, or she's actually live there.
She's on Zoom as we speak.
Okay, all right, sawa. If she's on Zoom, then we're gonna get her in. She's the African liaison of the campaign, and she's also gonna be talking about like the demographics of District 38A, the Liberian demographic, which is critical to Huldah's victory. Again, our lines are open. The number to call 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. Feel free to call in. Now tonight's show is brought to you courtesy of money sending app Lemfi. Now the One Mic Show is offering $30 for the first $100 sent on your first transaction using the code One Mic. The links that are on YouTube and on Facebook that are pinned, that will take you straight there. Just go download this money sending app. Your relatives are asking for money back home, and this app right now is giving one of the best rates in the market. So click on it, get that $30, and you will also be helping the One Mic Show. As you can see, now people have so much confidence in the One Mic Show. They want to give the One Mic Show some money so that we can keep these lights on and we can keep sharing these good stories. Let me also just go back to a couple of comments here that I'm seeing that were coming in while I was reading that. Ann Anunda says, way to go, Huldah. All the best. Thank you so much, Ann Anunda. And then Meshach, make sure you go post that link on YouTube. I have Global GFF Fatherhood says Mr. Sam Wangi anasema congratulations. And then I have Renaldo Muturi on YouTube says, do you know how even that sounds crazy that a powerhouse like us, Kenya, have never posted someone in Congress? Go, my Minnesota sister. Not only in Congress, we've never even posted someone in a US State Legislature. And then I have here Simon Yamari saying, congratulations, Madam Huldah. You're almost there. Let's get her across the finish line. But so yeah, make sure you contribute, donate, and let's get Madam Huldah crossed the finish line. Now, let's go to now before we get to Denise, we're going to be coming to Denise shortly. I want to come back to you, Huldah, and let's go to your role in the Minnesota House of Representatives. That's District 38A. Please give our Kenyan audience a picture to understand. Now, let's imagine Minnesota as the country with Governor Tim Walz, who's Kamala Harris's running mate, as its president. Where does Representative Huldah Momanyi fall? Are you like a Kenyan member of parliament? Are you like a senator, a governor, or are you like an MCA? Where do you fall on this pecking order in the state of Minnesota, just so that our Kenyan audience that's so used to Kenyan politics can understand this? Huldah.
Yeah, so thank you so much for that. I know that's a question that I'm always being asked, and I always ask from what context, right? Because the American politics is structured slightly different from the Kenyan politics. So from your perspective, Brother Ali, you compared it to if, Tim Walz, the current governor, hopefully soon to be vice president of this United States, is the president of the state of Minnesota, then the House of Representatives would be a part of the, I would be considered a member of parliament, right? Representative within the member of parliament. That's probably the closest I could compare that to, because then I'll be a part of member of parliament. And then if you break that down further, we all obviously have, city councils, and those are more so like the county assemblies and the MCAs within, each county. And then from there, obviously, you have, your school board candidates who are the community chiefs, right, for the different villages.
Okay.
So if you are asking about my race, I would probably comparing it to member of parliament.
Okay, that's interesting. So if we are comparing it to the Kenyan parliament, that means you're controlling some kind of budget. That a budget that funds different activities within or different functions within the state of Minnesota. Is that correct?
Yes. So just to give a quick background in terms of, because a lot of times you hear these roles, we have the Senate, we have the House of Representatives. So the Minnesota House of Representatives really creates and passes state laws impacting areas like education, really anything that pertains to its constituencies, education, healthcare, housing, public safety, infrastructure. Members representing their local districts and get together and work on policies that improve community life. And so for when you talk about the budget and how that plays into it, or anything really that pertains to the welfare of the constituency, so for example, right, bringing it back home in terms of, the audience here. So in Kenya, the National Assembly, similar to, Minnesota House, works alongside the Senate, right, to create laws and approve budget with, members serving for I think the national government in Kenya serves 5 years. But here, the state of Minnesota, the House of Representatives serve 2 years and work within the state budget rather than the national one. Both parties, they influence public policy. But you can tell me more about, Kenya's parliament and their impact on the entire nation, so that is the slight difference, right? So the Kenyan parliament, impacts the whole entire, Kenya. But then, the House of Representatives here and the Senate only impacts the state of Minnesota. Now, when you go to the national level where you have Congress, right? So you have the House of Representatives and then you have the Senate. For Congress, that's what impacts the whole entire nation. So hopefully that kind of gave the audience just a high view of what the House of Representatives does. And if you think about it from this angle too, we are the lower chamber. There are two chambers, right? The House of Representatives, the lower chamber, and the Senate is the upper chamber. And ultimately, regardless of what happens, laws bills, right, have to pass through both chambers before they go to the governor's office to be able to be signed into law or to be vetoed, depending on, where the governor stands on that particular bill. So, when people are like, well, why wouldn't you want to go for Senate? Or what's the difference between the two, the Senate and the House? Really, for me, it's the year difference. The term. The Senate is a 4-year term, and the House is a 2-year term.
Okay, so this is just a 2-year term, like the House of Representatives, the Congress.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. And what kind of issues, are you guys working on? Is it, matters education? What kind of issues, what kind of issues are you looking to go specifically to work on, as Denise gets ready for us to talk to her?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, my why was rooted in the issues that concerned the community, and the work that I've put in within the community, advocating for the community. So if you would ask me, what are your top, 3-4 issues that really pertains to my constituency within the Senate District 38A, the very top is equitable and access to affordable housing, right? You would think that in this district, which is very diverse, has enough affordable housing for its members. That is an issue that, this community has battled for a very long time, and we continue to do that. But I believe in the state where, for example, last legislative cycle, we had 17 billion in surplus. We shouldn't still be having issues pertaining to affordable housing, making sure that our renters have, their rights protected, making sure that we have options of various, housing options for the community, right? Because if you look at this community, there are different levels of residents who resides in this community. There are people who are ready to own their first home. There are people who are renters. There are people who are having businesses within this district. And so that's one of my issues. The second one is making sure that our small businesses thrive. And when you look at this district, we have a lot of small businesses, especially businesses that are owned by the immigrant community. A lot of times those businesses do not get equitable resources and funding and support that they need to really be sustainable. And we saw the impact of COVID-19 and what that did to a lot of our small businesses, and also creating an environment where new businesses and also big businesses can come in and really bring in that tax base we need to provide additional services. And then I think about our education. I have 2 small kids, and making sure that we're providing a world-class education for our kids, where our teachers have all the resources that they need in order to teach and not have to be be disciplinarian, to be nurses and doctors to our kids, like making sure that they have the resources to be able to do their job and not this other jobs. And then lastly, I think about healthcare. This district, not only is it diverse racially, it's also diverse in age. And so we are seeing a lot of community members who are getting a little bit older, even the younger generation, who are really struggling with being able to afford healthcare. So fighting for healthcare for all. It's something that I'm passionate about and that I'll continue to champion. And obviously there's other, big ticket items that I will champion, but if you would ask me, those are the top that I really want to focus on.
All right, amazing. And also remember to contribute to the campaign. Like Meshach has been posting the links there. We have the QR codes out there, so make sure you're campaigning. Now, the cities of Osio and Brooklyn Park, which combine make up Minnesota's House District 38A, have a diverse and interesting demographic. Liberians make a significant part of this district, and you had earlier talked about how you are able to narrowly defeat a Liberian candidate in the Democratic primaries back in August. Now, also joining us tonight is Denise, who's the African liaison of Huldah's campaign team. And she also happens to be Liberian, and she did not just join the winning team. She was there from before, from the primary season. So Denise, welcome to the show, and please tell us about your role in Huldah's campaign and the importance of the Liberian demographic in District 38A. Denise, welcome to the One Mic Show.
Good evening, everyone. Denise Butler here, but you can just call me Miss B. That's my podcast personality name that I like to use, and so we can all be comfortable in the space. We're all, one here trying to get Huldah through this finish line. I am so excited that, my sister here, my young sister here, took up this mantle, right, and asked me to join her campaign, and great leaders in the community to join her campaign as she decided to take this huge responsibility on, right, to get into office and represent us, right. She's representing a district that is largely diverse. Brooklyn Center and Brooklyn Park are not that far apart from each other, right? And both of these cities are the two majority minority cities in the state of Minnesota. Brooklyn Park itself is the sixth largest city in the state, and 62% of the population in Brooklyn Park is Black. Of that 62%, 15,000 of them is Liberian, just to kind of give you the numbers and put it into perspective. Besides Liberian, the mix is Nigerian, Somali. East and West African is well represented in the Brooklyn Park, the city of Brooklyn Park. And we're doing well, right? We're doing extremely well. The group of folks that live in the city are highly educated. You have a good medium income in this city, and we have a lot of Fortune 500 companies that are here. Takeda, Tesla, you name it, they're here, and this is their headquarters. Target, this is their headquarters in Brooklyn Park. So Brooklyn Park is a very important city that is thriving and doing well, but representation has been lacking. When I give you the data about the number of Black residents that are living here and thriving, but representation has been lacking. And so we are excited that Huldah has stepped up to do the job, to take on the responsibility to be a gladiator in this ring here and be able to move forward the agenda of not just the Black community, but honestly the agenda of everyone, right? That's what makes Huldah such an exceptional candidate, because she really is here to move forward the agenda for the constituents that she represents here in District 38A.
Oh, thank you so much, Denise. But one thing, I'll take you back a bit to, like the controversial side that we sometimes don't like talking about, because we as Africans sometimes we're within our own nationalities and everything. So with you being a Liberian, what is it that that inspired you to join her campaign team in the primaries when there was a Liberian running? Because I'm sure you might have heard a word or two from people within the community. What is it that you saw in her that you were like, I don't care, I'm gonna go on Huldah's side until she gets to the finish line? Denise.
I'm here for it. There wouldn't be good radio without some of the controversy. And so her opponent, I managed his campaign in 2018, and we won, right? And we got him on the Brooklyn Park City Council. And so I'm familiar with her opponent. What was that deciding factor for me was just what Huldah is going to bring. In this season, in this times that we are in, it's all about relationships and your ability to be able to work across party lines. It's very important right now. We understand what's happening when it comes to the GOP and the DFL. But honestly, when you get in office, it's about working across party lines. One person cannot solve all the problems on their own. They're going to have to be in relationship and make connections across party lines. She's going to have to work with Republicans, and she's going to have to work with other seasoned Democrats, right? That have already been there. They have their own agendas. They have things they have been working on, they've been trying to pass. And her being new, she's going to have those relationships. And so what Huldah brings is that ability to create those relationships. When she ran in 2022, she was able to do a lot of that work, right? And so those are some of the deciding factors for me that I said, yes, And she made it known right away, right? It was not something she needed time to think about. She didn't need time to process it. She made it known right away. And that's important. When you're going to jump into a political race, such as this race, how this seat was so important, you have to come to the plate sooner rather than later. And she did. She came to the plate sooner than her opponent. She has been doing the groundwork. She supported other campaigns in 2022. Even when she didn't make it past the primary, she supported. She let people know, I'm here, not for one time, not just for a season. I'm here to help to move this community forward in whichever capacity that I can do that. Even if it's just going to be a citizen sitting on a commission or sitting on a board, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to continue to do that. I'm putting in the work, and I hope to have your support in 2024. And so we're here. We're still supporting her. She put in the work. She's continuing to put in the work. And she understands there's even more work to put in once she gets into that seat.
All right.
Because voting her is one thing. We're going to be there every step of the way to hold her accountable.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Now, District 38A, you also said it has the demographic also includes Somalis, because Minnesota is famous for the Somali population. How have you been engaging with that specific community? Because I don't know the distribution, like within the district, but how well have you been engaging with them, and how much support are they showing towards Huldah's campaign?
Oh, wow. She has, like I said, she has been making those relationships happen. She's been working on them, right? And so when you look at her campaign team, it represents the district. It represents who she is, right? The ability to work across diversity. So she's been intentional to have intimate conversations with leaders in each ethnic group you can think about. She has been there having those table conversations, living room conversations with those leaders. Yeah. And then those leaders are the ones she her to bring her to their community. So we respect those cultural norms and traditions of communities, right? Where you have to go to the community leaders. You have to kind of get their blessing. We African understand that, what it means to get their blessings. And in getting that blessings and going to them, those people then take her out further to their community. So baby showers, weddings, county organization events, you name it. She's there talking about the campaign, wanting to hear from people what is important to them, and adding those issues to her campaign. Her platform was built on these conversations being out there in the community. So that is how she's making sure that she can reach the Oromo, the Somali, the Hmong, the Black, the Liberian. You name it. Everybody has been receptive of her. Those leaders have given her their blessing, and this is why she's made it this far. And we're going to make it in come November 5th to seal the deal.
Wow, Denise, thank you so much. Like even the way you're talking, I feel like running for office and making you one of my campaign managers and one of my
come on, we're ready.
Yeah, so thank you so much. A couple of comments here were coming as you were speaking. Jojo Kilimanjaro saying this is the beginning of a big thing. Let's join hands to get Huldah in and open doors for others. And then I have Abel Abe says congratulations. And then Global Fatherhood says, Denise, thanks for your support and motivation. And then we have Annette Karanja. Annette Karanja is our local political star here. We are building her up. We want her to run for office. She was supposed to be in studio today, but she's busy with the campaign of gubernatorial candidate Angela Also Brooks. Senatorial candidate Angela Also Brooks. Wow, I'm even confusing this. Yeah, so she's busy campaigning for her, so she was not able to make it. And then she says here the local volunteer-driven work makes so much progress in our communities. Here she has been active prior to this campaign. So thank you so much. And then I think on Facebook, I want everybody to make sure that they're contributing. They're contributing money. The links are posted there. We've been posting the QR codes, so make sure you're contributing to the campaign. This will help Huldah get to the finish line. And then I'm also going to get to Mika. Mika has also been patiently waiting on Zoom. I just first want to remind everyone that Tonight's show is brought to you courtesy of money sending app Lemfi. The One Mic Show is offering $30 for the first $100 sent on your first transaction using the code One Mic. The links are posted both on YouTube and on Facebook. All you have to do is just click on those links that are pinned there. Download this app. Like sign in. On the first $100 you send, you'll get $30. And once you get that $30, you know what you can do with that $30. Contribute to Huldah's campaign so that she can get to the finish line. I don't know whether Mika is still is still on there. Mika, are you still there? We're gonna come back. We're gonna get to Mika, but let me go back to Huldah here real quick. If you're elected, you're gonna be inheriting a seat currently occupied by incumbent Michael Nelson, who's also a Democrat who won and opposed in the 2022 election, and he's apparently been on that seat for a very, very long time. There's been a lot of redistricting, within that area, so it was very confusing when I was researching the area, because I've been to Minnesota before. I've been to Brooklyn Park, but I can't tell you what's where, so I was seeing, there were parts that were heavily Republican, there were parts that were heavily Democrat, but now you're running against Republican Brad Olson. Please just tell us how you're currently looking, or how the polls are currently looking, and what you have to say to voters that are still 50-50 about Huldah. They're like, I don't know, we don't know who she is. She doesn't look like the previous representatives we've had in this area. I don't know about that.
Like.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's some people who are saying that, from what we are getting on the ground, she doesn't look like the previous people that we've had here. So what are you going to tell these people, Huldah?
Absolutely. First of all, we are seeing a lot of voter turnout, early voting. Our team has been very intentional about getting the people to our community to get out and vote early, especially with everything that's going on the national stage. And really the drive for seeing those numbers go up, this very in the beginning, early voting period of this general election is because of what happened, right? We saw a couple of months ago where, President Joe Biden stepped down and then obviously endorsed Kamala, and she won that DFL endorsement ticket. And that jolted, I felt like that was like a jolt of life to the DFL party, not only at the national level, but at the local level. And we're definitely, obviously with everything that's going on and with the rhetoric in the national arena, is getting people really anxious about the general elections, and people are going out and voting, which is good. Like Denise mentioned, this district is very diverse, and it has leaned Democrat for 20 plus years, right? You mentioned Mike Nelson, the current representative, who will officially be done with his term. He's been in office for 20 plus years, and in last election cycle, like you said, he was not opposed, and that goes to show you how far this district has come in terms of representation. Denise talked about representation, and that is a core part of my why, is because this district being the most diverse district in the whole entire state of Minnesota, when you look at its leaders, they don't reflect the demographics of this district, not only from the state level, but also for the local level. That is the city council on both, the city of Osseo and the Brooklyn Park here. Denise talked about, my primary opponent, our brother Russell Winfred. He was the first African immigrant or Black, I think Black elected official city council to the city council of the state of the city of Brooklyn Park, right? So that goes to show you that there's still a lot to go when we talk about representation. And yes, when I first decided to run for this seat, a lot of people were like, you're going against, because the current representative hadn't yet retired, hadn't announced his retirement when I decided to run for this office. And what Denise talked about earlier in terms of jumping into the race, and I hope my brother Ali will get into this in terms of like, what does this look like for African immigrants in general, right? When we talk about this occupying this political space and what that means, there's a process there that a lot of us don't even know that exists. The institution of the political arena is so convoluted and complex that if you have no idea how it works, it doesn't matter what you do. You will never crack this space. And so for us, especially Denise and I and my campaign, it has been important for us to do voter education. Really talking about how this process works, because elections don't start in quote November when you go vote. They start all the way in February when you energize your community to get together and caucus for you, and then from there they become delegates who then go to the convention in between April and May, and then vote for you as the party's nominee ticket. Because if you get that ticket, that gets you closer to the next part of the process, and that next part of the process is if there's a primary. For example, we had a primary because for our convention, it was so heated that we, both me and Russell, left without an endorsement, so that put us on really on the primaries, allowing voters to decide who their nominated candidate is. And you mentioned, Brother Ali, you mentioned about, I only won by 50 votes. That's not a lot of votes when you look at the number of voters in this district, which is 21,000 plus, right? In this district alone, I only won by 50 votes, and less than 2,000 people voted in the primaries. So you see how important all of these steps are, and when we talk about how important the primaries are, a lot of people are like, the primaries. But if you don't vote in the primaries, your candidate is not going to be on the November ballot, right? And so we have a long way to go in terms of mobilizing around, educating our community about how the process works. Number two, creating an environment where our people who are interested in running for these offices can come and get the one-on-one about politics. So, because this is a game, and you have to know the rules of the game to be successful in this game. So providing an environment where our candidates are being taught. Creating also a collective effort, and that's why you mentioned Somali community, how they've been able to be so successful in terms of getting even one of their own in Congress. They have understood how the process works, and they've come together and created packs of groups and mobilized around that. And then from there, they have gained the power to really influence, who gets elected. And people and elected officials and party leaders understand the magnitude of that. So they go to them instead of the Somali community going to those elected officials. And we still are, the rest of us African immigrants, especially, us, the Liberian community, the Kenyan community, the Nigerian community within this district, we're still working around how are we going to come together to create a political powerhouse within the Brooklyn, where people are coming to us, influencers are coming to us talking about, we need your support, instead of us going and begging for a space at that table, right? So there's a lot that goes into this process. And so for me, it came down to me wanting to serve this community. And it didn't matter whether or not I was going against, an incumbent who's been in office for 22 years, because I understood the magnitude of the voice that I needed to bring to the table, right? Because we didn't have that representation. And when I keep on talking about we don't have representation, and I really want to focus on issues that pertains to the African immigrant community and the African American community, I'm not saying that the rest of the population that makes up this district don't matter. They do matter, but guess what? A lot of the policies that have been created in the past already cater to most of, you know, the issues that really pertains to these other groups. But the big key items like housing that impacts everybody, it don't matter what group you come from, healthcare, early childhood education, all of those things pertains to all of us, no matter your skin color, no matter your background. But at the same time, we also have to remember that when it comes to the African immigrant community, there is cultural differences, there's language barriers, there's a lot of factors that are not being factored into those policies. And that's the voice that I'll bring, and not saying the rest of the population, you know, is left behind. That's not the case at all. It's going to make sure that all the community, the entire community in its holistic nature, is being addressed. And the voices that have been missing from that table are finally at that table.
Now, it's interesting that you mentioned that we need to create our own table, because previously it's been, oh, you got to be on their table, and if you're not there, you're on the menu. But now the new system now is, let's create our own table. Let them come to our table, you know, like, and ask for our support, and not us going to them. And of course, we've seen other communities lead from the front on this, like the Somali community, for example. They have someone in Congress who's representing. Of course, she's representing her district in Minnesota, but she's also representing, you know, like, her community out there. So it's very important also to have diversity in the people who represent you, to show the diversity of the district. Now, Huldah, and maybe I'm gonna go to Denise on this, because she's the liaison for the African community. She's helping with the campaign. Want to know, is early voting already happening in the district, or how does it? Because I know this is different in every state, in different jurisdictions. Is early voting happening? Then, you know, you also have those people maybe who they're still lagging behind. They're not even registered. Are they time barred, or can they still go register to vote? So Denise, just give us a brief on that aspect.
Yes, early voting is available at your local city halls for the precincts that are in her district. So everybody now can go in Brooklyn Park and come to the Brooklyn Park City Hall and go to Osseo City Hall to vote for Huldah. So early voting is happening. You do not have to wait until Tuesday, November 5th to vote. So early
Ajalipa bundles.
I think we
registration ended October 15th. You can go and register the day of. You can go into that precinct. You can go right now to City Hall and register there and cast your vote early. You can also go to the precinct on the day of, on November 5th, and you can show up and you can register to vote on the same day, and you can cast your vote for Huldah. So do not let November 5th come and you get up and you say, oh, but I'm not registered, I can't go. No. You can register the same day. Minnesota has same day registration. This great state of Minnesota, that we allow people to register on the same day and cast their vote. So please don't wait. We know how we procrastinate and we put things off. Go get up, take you and your family, your mama, your daddy, your granddaddy, whoever is 18 and up, to go and vote right now. You don't need to wait until November 5th. Go and vote right now. Get your vote. If you have a ballot, if you had a ballot mail into you, mail it back now. You do not wait until November 5th to mail your ballot in. Mail your ballots now. You can take your ballots to City Hall, right? Mail your ballots in, and go and vote right now, right? You don't have to wait until November 5th.
Okay, and I want to remind the listeners that the number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. I know there's a couple of other people who are running in your district in Minnesota. So, and they wanted to call in. So the number to call in is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. And it's very interesting that in Minnesota you can go register all the way up to the day of the election. But I do not encourage people to do that. The earlier in Kenya we say mapema ndio best. mapema ndio best means what does even mapema ndio best means? We as
It's
Kenyans
better
know.
early. It's better
early.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Not
better
early you as in Badawi, but it's better
early.
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 Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Sorry.
There you
Early.
go. There you go. Yeah. So you're better off doing this earlier to get it off the way, because there's a lot of shenanigans. I mean, Minnesota is not one of those states that has been associated with voter suppression, but there's been a lot of voter suppression in many parts of the U.S. In Georgia, in Texas. We have a lot of listeners from Texas. In fact, our Texas people, you've been a bit quiet tonight. Please type up and tell us what's going on with Texas and Georgia. Those are the battleground states that people are looking at. And then I want to remind people that the primary, the difference was 50 votes, 5-0. 50 votes. So this local elections are no joke. I know of some local elections out here in Maryland where people won by 3 votes. Literally 3 votes, like literally, a family could go and make a difference.
The current mayor for our city, the very first Black mayor, African-American mayor, Hollis Winston, he lost the last race by just 2 votes. But just it was after, so he lost by 1, and then there was obviously a recount, and then it was 2 votes. So when people talk about, especially when it comes to local politics, that votes don't matter, they do. Literally my 50 votes, it will change the trajectory of this district, and so get out, vote. If you don't know who to vote for, reach out to anybody that you trust, reach out to a campaign that you trust and say, hey, what's on my ballot? Right now, what our team is doing is we're literally printing like a small postcard with all of the candidates down the DFL party line, so that, because what we realize is that closer to voting day, our people, that's when they wake up and they're like, hey, I need to go vote. Who am I voting for? So they're calling us asking, who am I voting for? No idea completely.
Oh, yeah, that happens. That happens, yes.
Or one person told me, Atisasa Mimi, when I drive to the polling station, the first sign I see, that's who I vote for.
That sounds Kenyan, unfortunately. That sounds totally Kenyan. Sometimes people do that.
Wasn't there an election that was decided by a coin toss?
That was in Virginia. Yes, there was an election that was decided by a coin toss after recount, and they had the exact same number. I did not even know that there was such a thing as deciding an election by a coin toss. It was really one of those things that came to me as very shocking. But these local elections, these are the most impactful elections on your day-to-day. I mean, I know the national elections is overcovered in media, and it's exciting, and we have, like one crazy person running, so saying these crazy things, and but the things that will impact you the most, and Huldah, you talked about them. You talked about affordable housing. This is not just in your district. This is across the U.S. Issues on affordable housing. Issues on affordable healthcare, issues of public safety. These are issues that are actually affecting people across the board, and some of the policies that are being decided within your own jurisdiction, like your family. If you're a family of 5, like literally the 5 of you can go to vote and actually flip the outcome of that election. That's how impactful these local elections are, because I know sometimes people get discouraged that, I'm not in a battleground state, so what's even the point of going to the polling place? But there's other important things that you're going to be out voting for. Now, Denise, back to you. Is there still any call banks you guys have, any volunteers you're looking for, any canvassing happening for someone who might be around the neighborhood there and have some time? Are you still trying to find people to help you with that aspect of the campaign? Denise?
Yes, please call the campaign. I'm sure Shua has, Huldah has shared all the numbers here tonight, and the website. Please, for those of you listening in Atlanta, Texas, Georgia, it is not hard for you to phone bank. We'll just give you a list of people to call. And it's just that simple, right? We'll share that list with you electronically, and we'll give you their phone numbers, we'll give you their names, we'll give you a script, and you can get to phone banking for us and making these phone calls. And right now, you're just calling people to say, hey, are you planning to vote? You can go and vote early. Do you know where to vote? I can tell you where your precinct is. And then you just go on to the next call. Hello, are you calling to vote? We're trying to remind you to go out and vote. Do you know where your precinct is? Are you registered? If you're not registered, you can register at the precinct. Do you know where your precinct is? Okay, here's where your precinct is. Please go and vote. And so if phone banking is just that easy, and you don't imagine how many people you can reach in a matter of an hour, you can make hundreds and hundreds of calls for us, and we will appreciate that. 21,000 people, we need all the help we can get to make sure that we get all 21,000 voters to go and vote that day on November 5th.
Oh wow. Okay, so that's actually quite important. Like, and in these local elections, it's even more important. Every phone call, every like every message sent, like any canvassing done, any kind of volunteership, especially the people who are in the Minnesota area. Please, please, please contact the campaign and donate. For those who can't do this, donate. Like the links are out there. We're having a hard time, like posting that link on YouTube. YouTube has a limit in the number of words it wants. But if you can find a way of posting, like the comments on YouTube, I think also people on YouTube want to contribute. It will be of good benefit to them. And then I have here Joshua Orenge. Joshua Orenge on YouTube says, "You are a great leader. You truly talk leadership and understand the dynamics." And then I think Global Fatherhood wants us to post the number on YouTube. So we're going to post the number on YouTube. The number again, I will, like say it out loud, and we're going to post it out on YouTube, is 202-683-4570, and press *5 to speak. Feel free to call in if you have any questions for Huldah. And I think we might already have a caller on a mic.
Thank you for calling the One Mic Show. 9037.
That's the last four numbers. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, this is Daniel Munari. I'm calling from Minnesota.
All right, Daniel, talk to us.
Yeah, it's glad to hear Huldah participating in your show, and I've been listening, and I admire what this girl has been about. And she gave her live story, and I remember she was young. I mean, she was young. She can't remember, but I was there. I remember how we went to the immigration. We went to demonstrate with Paul Wallstone and the church where she used to go, Progressive Baptist. Her journey has been quite a testimony of where God wants her to go. And I'm so proud of this girl. She's a fighter, she's a trailblazer, and God willing, she's going to make history, so that it's not going to be just our history, but the history of we immigrants who live in the Twin Cities and everywhere else here in the U.S. Her campaign has taught us, we Kenyans or African immigrants, quite a lesson. Some of us have never participated in any political event because we felt like we don't belong here. Let the Americans do their thing and tell us who is the president, who is my senator, or we didn't even know who is your congressman. I mean, it didn't matter until Huldah started, when she jumped into this political fight. That's when we got engaged. I remember when people will come to my door, I mean, all these years that I've lived here in the U.S., I would be pissed off. What the hell do they want? But then I was one of the people who went to door knocking. I'm like, I realized that I've been mean to people who come to knock at my door because I don't know what they can mean well, but I would not even bother to open the door. But yeah, I was with Huldah and the team going from door to door, telling them about Huldah and her campaign. So we have learned we have learned a lot through our campaign. And as you, the producer, and the Huldah said, the campaigns here are very different. Back home, nogoserwe nikikisi tunasema ogoserwa. It means you, the candidate, is the one who actually gives people money, and here is the other way around. It's your people from your district who actually contributes, and I'm glad the host, you are doing a good job rallying the people so that Huldah can get the support that she needs so that she can close that line. I know when I go to our house, there are all these volunteers, there are young people who make phone calls, and I'm sure, it takes money. All the signs that are posted all over, it's quite an expensive venture. So we wish her well, and she has come a long way, and God is not going to let her down at this time. I'm appealing to my Liberian community. I know they had a candidate, a good Raso. I think his name was Raso. He was a very good candidate, and I hope he's, drawing his support behind Huldah so that together we can help this girl who is going to represent our district very well. And even when during the primaries, you would see how the diversity of the people who came to the primaries, the caucus. It was white, it was black, it was from Liberia, it was from Somali, it was Ethiopians. It looked like, a world. So Huldah has this appeal to people. It doesn't matter your color, it doesn't matter where you come from. She has this appeal. I'm sure she's going to make her district proud. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Daniel. Now, before you go, Daniel, before we let you go, have you contributed to Huldah's campaign? Ama wewe unangoja ile style ya Kikenya yeye ndio akupatie kakitu?
Unajua?
Yeah.
Huldah.
Yeah.
Huldah is my sister's daughter.
Okay.
So I don't want to say how much I've dipped into my pocket.
Aha.
This is my daughter. This is my daughter.
Ah, okay.
So I'm appealing to anybody who's listening.
Okay.
It takes only $10 she can purchase a sign out there or pay volunteers to make phone calls. So I've done my best. This is my daughter. This is her favorite uncle. That's what she tells me. I don't know if she lies to me. She has many uncles, but I think I'm the favorite one, right, Huldah?
Ah, okay, okay.
We'll inquire from
okay,
her.
we'll throw a commission of inquiry about that, and we'll give you the results.
Tutatenga commission.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and then up when you contribute to a campaign, there's no requesting for tenders, because in Kenya, when you contribute to a campaign, you're expecting to win some tenders. And
a
some,
Danny style.
yeah, like a Danny after the win. But
Like a
hapa hakuna, you contribute and you expect the best, once he gets into office. So Bwana Monari,
Yes.
thank you very much. Thank you so much, and make sure
You're welcome.
you tag other people and send the link everywhere and tell everyone else to contribute. Thank you so much.
Amen. Thank you.
All right, that was Daniel Monari all the way from Minnesota. So so this is what's been happening.
Si Huldah jibu hiyo swali.
Yeah, kwanza Huldah, before we continue, so that because it's already on record, we want to hear it from you.
We want to hear it straight.
Is Mr. Monari
One question.
your favorite uncle? He said that you categorically said you have many uncles, but you said he's your favorite uncle. And most likely your other uncles are listening. So be very, very careful how you will answer this question.
The
Huldah.
advice of my senior African diaspora advisor, who is on the call, no comment.
Oh, okay. Aya, sawa sawa. So Uncle Monari, we tried to we were on your side, but I think at the advice of an advice from an advisor who was advising another advisor, that it's been decided that there will be no comment. Sawa. Anyway, there's been also a lot of comments that were coming in as we were talking here on YouTube. I can see Jared Guaro says, go our sister Huldah, we got you all the way to the end. Then I can see Ryle Onchuru says, we are behind you, Madam Huldah. And then we have Roslida Nyaboke. She says, good job, Honorable Huldah, you've got my support. Elected officials called honorable in this country. I don't know, but now you have another title.
I'm
honorable.
Mhesh.
Yeah, or Mhesh.
Mhesh.
Yeah, and then and then
there's a couple of people who've called me from Kenya, and they're like, so tutakuita nini sasa? Unataka kuito nini? So we just don't know. Maybe you people can help me.
Okay, we'll figure that out. And then Annette says, thank you for explaining the importance of this political process. Primaries are so essential. Let's understand the process in the places we live. Politics is very local. And then Joshua Orenge says, you're a great leader, truly talk leadership and understand the dynamics. And Upper Miss B is reminding people that only citizens and permanent residents may donate to the campaign. So hakuna mambo ya M-Pesa. You know, that's campaign finance law in the US. And I think, you know, like we already have another caller.
0073. Thank you for calling the One Mic Show. Name and where you're calling from.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now we can.
Yes, loud and clear. Give us your name and tell us where you're calling from.
Hey, this is Washeke. I'm calling from Murima.
Okay, Washeke from Murima. Talk to us. What's happening in Murima?
Imeguzwa.
Imeguzwa. Murima imeguzwa. Okay, so explain to our Liberian sister who's also on the panel. Imeguzwa na nani. Explain to her what Murima kuguzwa means, because not everyone understands that Kenyan lingo.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What I mean is, I don't know. I don't know if I have the words to explain. It's very hard for someone to explain understand Kenyan
The mountain
lingo.
has been touched.
But you're sounding so
the
happy.
mountain has been.
You're sounding so happy with the mountain being touched. Anyway, talk to us. Talk to us, Washeke.
Wait. Focus. First, I want to congratulate my sister Huldah for the steps that she has taken. I know the journey hasn't been easy, so congratulations for the far you have gone and how much you have achieved. And I know that you're going to win this seat. Minnesota holds a special place for me. It was my first home when I landed in America, so I'm rooting for you. I would have loved to donate to your campaign. However, I've exceeded my maximum because of the job I do. But I will reach out to, I have family in Minnesota, and I'll reach out to them and make sure they can contribute in kind or finances. So I have two questions for you. So our community in general, and not just Kenyans, but I feel like African immigrants in general, sometimes we're so removed from the politics, even our local communities. So my question is, how can we motivate our community members to be engaged in local initiatives like school boards, city councils, elected officials, to drive policy change? That's my first question. The second question is, I don't know if you addressed this, I was in and out, but you know, what inspired you to the journey that you have taken and now you're running for office? And the third question is, how can we nurture and ensure our kids are also actively involved in political discourse? One thing with us Kenyans, like, we straddle two worlds. We're here in America, but our mind is so much at home. We're more involved in politics at home than politics in America that actually affect us more. Yes, Kenya does affect us, but we're living in America most of the time. Our kids go to school here. This is probably where they will spend most of their life and retire. So the policies that are being made by politicians are the ones that are affecting them. So how can we ensure that they're actively involved in politics, ensure that they vote when they become eligible. And when we see leadership qualities, how can we nurture that? I've noticed something in my daughter. She's 10, and since she was 5, she always advocated for something that she didn't feel that was right at school, to the point that now when the school is introducing something, they always seek feedback from her. They will send me an email and they will say that on this date we are going to talk to your daughter because we want to get feedback and she can articulate the issue. So for me, I'm not a leader in nature, so I kind of struggle on how to nurture those qualities. So being that you are a leader, what can I do as a parent to nurture that those qualities and they don't die? Because we know if you don't nurture something, it's going to disappear. And also, are you looking at, mentoring future leaders in our own kids within the community?
Jojo is a Okio Mtata.
Yeah, wow. But those are like, you said 2 questions, but those are like 6 questions. But I know Huldah has a very good memory. Oh, okay. She's prepared. No, she's prepared. She's prepared. She has a full scope. Or
a little pad.
A writing pad.
It's a full scope.
Full scopes.
Or it's a Kasuku exercise book. Yeah. All right, Huldah.
Thank you so much, my sister. I appreciate you coming on here and bringing those very important questions, because I think for me, that is at the heart of why I got into this space, because the more I got into this space and realized the gap and the potential and all of this resources that our community was missing out on, as a whole, right? And for me, a big part of it was during COVID-19. When I was, part of, a group of leaders who were trying to really rally resources around the African American community within the Brooklyns, and really seeing, the huddles that we had to go to get those resources to our community. Even a basic, simple thing as, having, literature that is in Swahili, Liberian, you name it, right? And so I'm just gonna go through some of the things that you brought up. So just really quickly highlight my journey to why I decided to run. It's because I saw the potential that we were missing out on. I saw all of this opportunities and not having that representation at the table, and the need to have that representation. So that was why I decided to jump into the race. So you talked about nurturing our kids in politics. My team and I have been, again, intentional about creating an environment where we're bringing in young people to expose them, right? I went to a predominantly white institution. I graduated with 3 undergrad degrees, and a master's. And I remember, a lot of my friends, talking about, oh, I'm going to go shadow my dad at Boston Scientific. Oh, I'm going to go do this at Medtronics. Oh, I'm going to, I have a summer internship here and there. I didn't have that exposure. Nobody was telling me, oh, I'll take you to the nursing home so you can shadow what I do, right? Like, I didn't have that exposure to the possibilities of what's possible. Even how I landed in my current profession of data privacy and data regulation. That's another thing that we'll talk about one of these days, how we expose our kids to, opportunities that are normally not talked about in our spaces. It makes a difference when you expose, especially the youth, to what is possible. They have a different perspective. They have a wider perspective of what is possible. So for my campaign, we have been very intentional about bringing in young people and getting them involved. And to be honest, these are the young people that got me the win in August, right? They're the ones who are out there literally door knocking every single day. And some of them because I was very open about if there's something that you want to learn in this space, please let us know. So some of them supported, the admin work behind the scenes, and so the most important thing for me is to create an environment where young people feel like their voices are heard and they're valued in the process, and actually trust them to execute on what you're asking them to do. You'll be really shocked if you create that environment, what these kids will do, right? You talked about your young child and how you can foster that, and if you don't know, Denise talked about us African immigrants and how educated we are. The issue with our community is that we don't go back and tell, when we get to some of those big places or spaces that we don't see a whole lot of us, we don't come back to the community and say, hey, there's something here you people need to know about. And that's what I want to do. Once all of this is said and done, and we're getting this win, one of the things that I really want to initiate, especially from this office, is create an environment, even an internship program, where we have, a pipeline of kids who are coming through, taking them to the state capitol. A simple thing as literally walking through those doors, it changes you. Like, the atmosphere at the Capitol is completely different. You una feel different, right? And then explaining to them, this is where real power lies, not on the streets out there. This is, if you want power, if you want influence, this is where it's at, and this is how you get there. So creating that pipeline. You talked about African immigrants are not really participating in politics. Well, that is true. Data has shown that time and time again. But we also have to address why. The question, why aren't we, most of us, involved in politics? And I think you mentioned a couple of things, right? But for me, when I think about African immigrants, Kenyans, Liberians, you name it, we often just face barriers to political involvement, to factors unfamiliar to the U.S. political system, right? For example, limited time due to how much we work. Some of us work 2 to 3 jobs just so we can provide and put a roof over our heads, our families' heads, right? And so not having that luxury of time, right? Sometimes, it's the disconnect, right? You mentioned, being disconnected from U.S. politics because you don't believe, or, and a lot of times our community do not have that knowledge of how this process works. And because the process, again, is so complicated, right? We haven't been given that value, to say, oh, I have a stake in this. Now, with everything that's been going on, especially in our district, with having 2 African immigrants going at it, I think the greatest thing that came out of it, besides me winning, right, was the fact that we really energized the African immigrant community to realize that they have a stake at this. This is the value of making sure that you do participate. You do your part in order to get your candidate elected. And also language barriers, citizenship requirements. Sometimes a lot of our people really sit here and they're like, well, I'm not a citizen, so I can't participate. And that is completely wrong. Just because you're not a citizen doesn't mean that you can't participate, right? You could still come out here and participate in supporting your favorite candidate, door knocking, talking to voters about why you are supporting, your favorite candidate. A good example of non-citizens participating in the political process. So the DFL party, the last election cycle, amended their bylaws to include permanent residents. Actually, anybody, as long as you lived in that district, it didn't matter your migration status. You can actually vie to be a delegate at caucuses. That is huge. That means that is your vote, literally right there, without you being a citizen, to help get a candidate of your choice in the political process to help them get elected, even if you can't vote in November. So there's a lot of factors that goes into why us Africans don't get involved. But this is the most important thing that I think that, you brought up. We have one leg here and we have one leg back home. I want to tell our people that we're not, most of us are not going back home. Most of us are having kids here. We're investing here. We are having houses here. Your kids, my kids, are not going back home to eat those assets and investments that we have invested back there. That is just the reality of it. Now, if you're very intentional about going back home and living there and retiring there, that's fine. But the majority of us are dying here and we're getting buried here. So why not? Why not get involved politically here? So I think the biggest thing in terms of getting our community involved is that people like myself, people who are now involved, people like Denise who've been in this fight, like when one of these days we'll welcome her to tell her story, but she has been in this community fighting at the Capitol, lobbying at the Capitol for, resources and really championing issues that affect African immigrants in this district. We have to, people like Denise and the community leaders and myself, candidates, we have to create a value-based messaging to our community to tell them, hey, this is how this process impacts you. This is the value when you participate politically that you will get, right? Because a lot of times people are like, well, what am I going to get if I vote for you, right? And that's a good question. Sometimes I'm just like, well, I'm really fighting for all of us and your family, but that's a very important question. And we, as the people who actually now have had our eyes open to this process and understand what's at stake, we have a role to play in making sure that we bring that knowledge back to the community and relay it in a manner that actually our community understands and in the spaces that they understand that format in. Let's see here. Local politics. Go ahead while I still continue reading mine.
So I wanted to take it home, right? I'm an organizer. I organize in the community, and I wanted to bring it back home to what you said about your daughter, where she's already doing her organizing and advocacy, right, in her school. And I think when you're talking to people, it's about educating them and meeting them where they are, about the things that matter to them, and letting them know who gets to make decisions about the things that matter to you. Your daughter is advocating for herself at a young age in the school. And it reminds me of a story about my child in elementary. She came to me and she said, Mommy, Miss Fine, I see a lot of the Black students of color going to Miss Fine's office all the time. And she was never sent to Miss Fine's office. So I concluded Miss Fine must be some kind of behavioral counselor or something. And I said, would you like Mommy to do something about it? And she said, no, Mommy, I got it. The next time I got a call, it was from Miss Fine and the principal asking me to come to school because they wanted to know what I was doing to have such a daughter who was already advocating for people when she was not the one being impacted by going to Miss Fine's office, but she noticed that a lot of her friends were going to Miss Fine's office, and she didn't like the outcome when they came back from Miss Fine's office. And so it's about meeting people where they are. We send our kids to a building, 8 hours to go and be with strangers for 9 months out of the year. And we don't realize how much the political landscape makes the decision about what happens to them in those buildings, 8 hours in that day, day in and day out. The budget, the lunch, the teachers getting hired, whether police officers are in the building or not, their safety. We sit back and rely on everybody to make such an important decision around our most valuable and cherished loved ones and don't get involved. So let's start meeting people where we are. Start the conversation there. Like your child going to school every day in these streets, the bus they take, having access to buses, the bus stops, their safety when they get in that building, all those things are decided by people you do not know. But for some reason, you're comfortable with that, right? And you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be trusting that. That's why your school board is very important. If your kids don't have technology in their schools, it's because somebody's making the decision around how that budget, millions and millions of dollar budgets, is being divvied out. Someone's making that decision. And your tax dollars is involved. The money you work for every day you go to work, somebody takes out federal, they take out state, they take out Social Security, they take out Medicare. Those dollars are the money that is used in the budgets. So don't feel like because you're making $15 an hour or making $200,000 a year, we're all paying taxes. And we all should have a voice in how those taxes are spent. So I said, take it home and meet people where they are when you want to have the conversation about why they should get involved, why it should be important to them. Because they're always going to say, well, what's in it for me? If you work in the health field, if you're a nurse, how much you get paid, your benefits that you receive at work. Somebody political space is making that decision for you. Your water bill, your sewage bill as a homeowner, your property taxes that go up every year. Somebody is making that decision on your behalf. And so therefore, you should have a relationship with the folks who are making those decisions. You should impact how they make those decisions. If you're a homeowner and your property tax is going up, it's because the businesses that are coming to your city are not paying their fair share of taxes. And so the burden, the bills fall on you as the homeowner, the resident. You're paying those bills that those people are not paying, right? You're paying your property tax, and your property tax goes to the school board, goes to the police, it goes to the city, it gets divvied up. Your property tax, look at your property tax bill and see where those dollars go every time you pay your property tax. So meet people where they are and start the conversation with the things that matter the most to them.
Wow. Huldah, can we borrow Denise after you win? We bring her to Maryland? Because
no,
yeah,
she has a lot of work to do with me at the Capitol. You remember what she said?
Yeah.
That this work hasn't finished. It's about to begin.
Okay.
So it's about to begin.
Okay. All right. So I think those answers were very satisfactory to Washeke, and I think we might also have another caller.
Washeke, are you satisfied?
Washeke, are those answers satisfactory to you?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Huldah and Denise, and I'll be rooting for you, and all the best.
Okay. All right.
And then Ali, let's have her back after the election.
Absolutely. Yeah, she has a date, and this is on record. So, Huldah, you've had, once you get there on that big seat, remember us down here.
Usituzahau?
Yeah, we will hunt you down. We will hunt you down. Yeah, so don't go and do they give politicians V8s here like they do in Kenya?
Probably, who knows?
Maze, Hakuna.
Chevitaho or Suburban.
Suburban, the Bourbon, yeah, the Bourbon.
Black ones.
Black on black
tinted windows.
With those wheels,
okay.
Bulletproof.
All right.
Those ones.
Okay, we'll hunt you down after you win. We will be in touch. And we'll get you here. I think we also have another caller.
Yes, we do. Thank you. So we have 79787.
That's the last 4 digits.
Yes, 9787. Thank you for calling the One Mic Show.
Let us know your name and where you're calling from.
Thank you so much. My names are Mr. Samuel Momanyi, and I'm calling from Champlin, Minnesota.
Mr. Samuel Momanyi, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Samuel Momanyi from Minnesota.
Minnesota. Thank you.
Mr. Samuel Momanyi, talk to us.
I want to say thank you so much, even for having this space, especially for our sister Huldah Momanyi Hiltsley, who's running as a state representative. So myself, actually, I'm just going to introduce myself. Samuel Momanyi. I'm running as a city council in my city, Champlin Ward number 4.
Okay.
And this is my second time I'm running. The first time, the difference in votes was very kidogo sana. I think it was about maybe like a 500. The incumbent was there before. But this time, I'm running, and I know I have a very good support system. Most of my volunteers, they come from my city, especially from my ward. Champlin is divided into 4. There is ward number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, and I'm number 4. It's a tough race. I can't lie to you, because you know what's going up on the presidential level, and in my city, it's actually the opposite of Brooklyn Park, because 20% of people who live in my city, they are people of color. So we all mix up, Africa, Asians, they call us people of color. It's about 20%. So that means that for every fifth person, it's a person of color. But I have served this community for a long time. From 2013, 2015, 2016, I was the Champlin Environmental Resource Commissioner. Then again, I took a break. Then I came back again from 2020 up to now, and my term ends up in 2025. So I'm very known in my community, engaging, participating, and Mwangi is a very common name actually in Champlain. So I'm hoping maybe this time with my platform to bring the community together, to be inclusive, and to engage and have everybody come for public participation. I think now there will be an opportunity for us to say our community is changing and we need a different kind of participation. So for us, what we do, we do knock, door knock at least every day. Like I said, my volunteers, they're about 6 to 7. They come from my ward. These are people who really volunteer every day from 5 up to around 7:30 every day. On Saturday, we start from 2. We go until maybe around 6:30. And actually now we are going for second time. We say, what, we're gonna get it. We're gonna have to try hard. And Huldah, thank you even, and Denise, thank you for your encouragement. You tell me we stand with you and for your support. So, one Mike, thank you even for this space. I just wanted to introduce myself. Na niwaambie asanteni sana.
Okay, anytime. Bwana Samuel Mwangi, we wish you all the best, and hopefully you're gonna win. It seems Minnesota is now setting the standard for Kenyans in the US. Because Huldah is here running. We actually a couple of years ago interviewed another Kenyan who was running. I can't remember what district, but it was Boninjenga. Yeah, we interviewed Boninjenga a couple of years ago, who was also running. So now I think if Huldah and yourself win, this will be great inspiration for Kenyans. Instead of just thinking about going to run sijui in Nyaribari Chache or I don't know sijui West Mugirango, we can run right here in the United States.
In Baltimore, home of the wire.
Yes, or Baltimore, Maryland. So Bwana Samuel Mwangi, asante sana, and I'm gonna get your contacts from Huldah. We're gonna talk. Thank you so much. Couple of comments that were coming in as we were talking. Annette Karanja says on YouTube, says there have been multiple constitutions in Kenya in my lifetime, and somehow people in the diaspora are experts and scholars. We have the capacity to learn, and that's on American issues, because Kenyans, like, we really dissect our issues back home when we're not familiar with our issues here. And then Annette further says city councils affect so much of the day-to-day lives. All the best on the race.
That's for Sam.
Oh, that's for Sam.
Yeah, because he's running for city council. Chaplain.
Okay. Yeah. All right, good. And then there's also I think this is Hesbon Onsembe Onyambu says we can do this. History is knocking the door. Keep the fire burning. And then Gerald Oliech talking to Denise. Gerald Oliech is saying, where Denise, do you need a flight ticket to Kenya for 2027? You are well needed. 2027 is a Kenyan election. So Denise, you are being adopted by force, by fire here. Yeah, so I think we need to find her a Kenyan name. So people on YouTube and on Facebook, let's give Denise a Kenyan name. Let's find her a Kenyan name.
Absolutely.
Awanjiko. Let's find out from the people in the comments. Let's give Denise. And by the way, Denise, when Kenyans give you a name, it will stick. We might even forget about Miss B. We might forget about Denise,
Badland, no.
Yeah. Yes. So you might just get baptized here. But
okay, I claim it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now there's already one coming in from Luis Muya. Luis Muya says Mora. Yeah.
Okay.
Mora is a good name. Mora is a nice, simple name. Yeah. Easy to remember.
Yeah, we have another caller.
Another caller?
Yes.
Where? Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's pick up the caller.
This one is 8281. Thank you for calling the One Mic Show. 8281. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, I'm Kefo Tiso. I'm calling from Ohio.
Kefa Tiso.
Bwana Kefo Tiso, habari gani? Welcome to the One Mic Show. Talk to us.
How are you doing, sir?
Doing great. A long time hatujasikia sauti yako, but talk to us, Kefo Tiso. Maybe introduce yourself to the audience who might not know you, you know, like Kefo Tiso is a very famous name here in the United States on issues, politics, Kenyan politics, and our American politics here in America. Kefo Tiso, introduce yourself and then talk to us.
Yeah, I'm Kefo Tiso. I teach geography at Bowling Green State University in Ohio. And I've worked on Kenyan immigrant, all African immigrant issues for a while, including a book that came out last year detailing the African immigrant experience in the United States that we wrote after the George Floyd issue. So I just joined in so that I don't go off track. Can you give me a second, maybe like 10 seconds in terms of what you've been talking about so that I can... I don't want to throw off your listeners.
Yes, you know, like 2-3 minutes, you know, like give us your position. Of course, we're interviewing Huldah here, who's running for Minnesota District 38A, House District 38A.
Okay.
So talk to us about maybe her campaign, what you think, and any other thing that you've been hearing us talking about here.
Okay, so I'll go with that because I've just joined. But what I'll say is that I've always encouraged the African immigrant population in the U.S. to be represented in the political process and at all levels, from federal, state, counties, down to the school districts. It is important, obviously, to focus on what is happening in Kenya and Africa more broadly, but the reality is that most of us came here thinking that we were going back next year, and even now some of us keep saying we are going home next year, even when we've been here in the U.S. for 20, 30 years. And so that kind of business of putting on hold what we need to be doing in the U.S. where we are focusing on Kenya is actually killing us, and it's messing us up. We're not represented in the places where decisions are being made. And I remember when we started having conversations with Huldah a few years back, it was like, you know, let's really, as immigrants in general, let's actually be involved in the political process in this country. And I'm glad that she was one of the ones that has taken up the lead. If you go across the country, there are many places where we have large numbers of immigrants. You can talk of Texas, you can talk of California, and even Seattle. And what you see is we're not represented at all. So I'm very happy that she's actually picked up the mantle.
Yeah.
Someone interrupting or what?
No,
just carry
on. Yeah, it was something on the line.
Yeah. So I'm very happy that she has taken up the mantle of, running for office, because the reality is that many of us are going to stay here permanently. And the sooner we come to terms with that reality, the better for ourselves and for our children. She will know that I've always, even when I make presentations on these subjects across the country, I've always reminded us that if you are not at the table of decision making, you are definitely on the menu. Somebody is making a decision that will actually make your life very, very difficult. Here in Ohio, I've served myself, taking my own advice. We have an African Immigrant Commission that I've actually served on as a commissioner for a long time. I stepped down last year because my term ended. And I cannot tell you what I found in terms of the importance of actually being at the decision-making table. I mean, even during COVID, the commission was heavily involved in terms of advising the government of the state of Ohio in terms of what it should do. And it's very easy for a government to come up with policies that work for a section of the population, but are actually quite injurious for another section of the population. And I'm very proud that actually we had a chance to shape policy that actually ended up working for the benefit of our people. I know that many of us are usually very busy and we claim that we don't have time to go and vote. But let me remind your listeners one thing. Even a change of a government policy, even one line, can sweep away those doubles, whatever you earn in the doubles. I'm not making fun of doubles. We need to work hard. We don't have a number of other resources in this country, so we need to work hard. But we need to spare time to vote, and we need to spare time to be represented in all of these units of government, from the school boards on up, because when we are not there, other people are going to make decisions on our behalf, and all we are left with is basically complaining about how government doesn't work for us, yet we are not involved in the political process. It's not pretty. It is not going to be a straightforward process, but we have to be represented. There's no two ways about this particular issue. And I do encourage all of us, especially the African immigrant population, to actually come out and support Huldah. Let me also say one thing. You are not going to find a candidate you agree with on every issue. You are not going to find a party you agree with on every issue. That perfect party, that perfect candidate does not exist. So the reality is that when we, in particular, we find somebody that we know can articulate our issues, regardless of whether we agree with them on every issue or whether we agree with the party of choice, we should be able to support them, because at least we have a leg in the room, and when decisions are being made, we are going to be represented. We can always later on call our back and say, hey, we don't like you how you vote about A, B, C, D here and here. We want you to vote this way. But remember, that is somebody who is already at the decision-making process at the table that you can now advise in terms of how to represent you. But if she's not there, or if he's not there, you have nothing. So your disagreements in terms of, choices of parties, choices of platform issues, don't count if they are not represented at the decision-making table. And I think that's all I'd like to remind your viewers. Perhaps if there's another question, I can respond.
All right, asante sana, Professor Kefa Otiso. Actually, I'm going to be in touch with you because there are so many issues about Africans, running for office and how they need to do it, because it's already been talked about that they need to do it, but it's the how, you also mentioned something important where you will not find a candidate that you agree with on everything. You will not find a party that you will agree with on everything. Africans, however, tend to run mostly on the Democratic Party, like the Africans who run out here in the US, 99 out of 100 times, or maybe even 999 times out of 1,000. So I think that's one of those things that I think we need to have deep discussions about, especially after these elections are done. But asante sana, Professor. We will get in touch with you.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, then.
Thank you.
All right. Asante sana. Again, I want to remind the listeners. Oh, but before that, the names were still coming in for Denise. Washeke said she's more like a Wamboi. And then on YouTube, Jojo Kilimanjaro is saying Mora it is. And then
so those are two Moras, one Wanjiko, one Wambui.
Two Moras, one Wanjiko, and one Wambui. I hope you're writing them down, Denise, and and you learn how to pronounce them. And then here we have Mecha Mosoti says Pongezi wa Kenya and Kamala Huldah as a candidate for Minnesota. And then we have Philip Momanyi says, watching you, Miss B. We know Huldah's team needs to be paid, hence the urgent need for the donations. Thank you so much. And of course, we have the link for the donations on the Facebook stream. Like the QR codes have been streaming. You can donate on Venmo, on the website, on PayPal. There's different ways to donate. You have to be a citizen or a permanent resident to donate. So M-Pesa people, we thank you very much, but campaign finance laws will not allow you to contribute via M-Pesa.
Now it was Springfield, Ohio.
Now, what was Springfield, Ohio? I don't know. We'll talk about them. We should have asked Professor Otiso because he's from Ohio. I also want to remind the listeners.
Legal,
I want to remind the listeners that you're tuned in to the One Mic Show, and I'm your host and producer Ali Badawi. We are talking to the Democratic candidate for Minnesota House District 38A, Ms. Huldah Momanyi Hiltsley. She's facing Republican Brad Olson in November and is here making a passionate case on why District 38A should vote for her. For those not in her district, she's kindly requesting you to donate at least $20 to her campaign to get her to the finish line. So Meshach, if you're still there, please post that link, or even Denise, you can post that link on Facebook and on YouTube. YouTube is giving us trouble posting that donation link. And then we have the QR codes that have been moving back and forth on the screen. So please open up your wallets. We'll shortly be asking, as we come to a close, we'll shortly be asking why the Kenyan community is so plugged to politics back home, but disconnected from the local politics in the US. So stay tuned. We're also going to be asking why there's quite a bit of Trump support, from some Kenyans here. I don't know whether that's the same in the Liberian community, but there's been quite a few vocal Trump supporters within the Kenyan community. And I say this because this is someone who's openly shown hostility to immigrants, to groups like Muslims, for people like myself who I belong to. So sometimes, I just like to understand why this is happening in our community. We are gonna be talking about that. Of course, the lines are open. The number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. Feel free to call in. We've already had 3 calls already. And then I want to remind the listeners that tonight's show is brought to you courtesy of money sending app Lemfi. The One Mic Show is offering $30 for the first $100 sent on your first transaction using the code One Mic. Now, to make it easier for you, there's a link that's pinned on the Facebook stream and on the YouTube comment stream. Just click on that link. It will take you straight to where you can download the app, download it, sign up for it, and then when you send your first $100, you're going to get $30 back. Then when you get this $30 back, then you can send that money to Huldah, because her campaign is looking to get to the finish line. So before we get into our final part, I hear there's another caller. Now these callers are calling when now we want to talk to Huldah more. But let's hear what the caller has to say.
Thank you for calling the One Mic Show. 5910. Name and where you're calling from.
I've just been told just to get in, so here I am.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Beatrice, for getting in. Have you already, are you registered to vote? Are you planning to vote for Huldah? Have you donated to her campaign? Beatrice?
I've already voted for her. I have done everything for her. She's
okay.
my daughter.
Oh, she's your daughter? Oh, so this is mom calling. There was an uncle who called earlier, and he claimed to be the favorite uncle. So now this is mom calling.
I'm favorite. I would say I'm a favorite aunt.
Your favorite aunt.
Or grandma, for that matter. Yeah.
Okay, we will verify that. We will verify that because that has gone on record. So thank you so much for calling. We're gonna verify that with Huldah because I'm sure she has a lot of other aunts. So we'll verify if you're the favorite one. But thank you so much and stay tuned. Huldah, now here is another question that's coming to you. Is Beatrice your favorite aunt? You can either say yes or no. Huldah.
So before I answer that question, I think I want the audience to understand who this amazing woman is. She vied for a political seat in Kenya back when, women were not even supposed to even think about, stepping into leadership roles. And then when, she moved to the US, she's held a lot of really high-level political and community leadership positions. And she's a woman that I really look up to in terms of when it comes to women leadership and what that really entails as a woman of color, as a Kenyan woman in general. And so her track record of leadership has definitely paved the way for somebody like me, young, energetic, but really somebody who needed that mentorship in terms of, breaking down some of those barriers. And she's a part of that fight, not only from Kenya, but also when she got here. She still, at her age, continues to participate in the political field here in the US. And so when I hear a lot about people say, hey, I can't, politics is not, no, she is in her early 80s, but she still gets involved here. So is she my favorite grandma? Yes, I would say that, absolutely, because of what she represents, not only for my life, but for the community, the Kenyan community here, the African immigrant community here in the diaspora, because she's a part of a couple of commissions here in the city of Brooklyn Park that I'm super impressed with how she's carried herself and how she has modeled leadership. So I'm actually happy that she took the time to join us.
Okay, Grandma Beatrice, you've been confirmed as the favorite grandmother. I will remind Uncle Monari, yours was placed pending. It was no comment. So I think that can be sorted out later in a family gathering. But then, one other quick question that was also coming in here. Some people who are contributing or want to contribute, they don't know where this money is going to, because in Kenya people are used to receiving money from politicians. You're the one who's supposed to give us money, but now people here are saying we are contributing. We know in Kenya that we are the ones who get money. So where is this money going that we're giving to you? Huldah.
Yes, thank you for that question. I think it's important that question came up because, again, that's a part of educating our community about, contributing to a political space, right? So specifically for me, this money, especially as we are entering the last week of campaigning, we literally have about 10 days to go. This money is going towards, purchasing that last order of literature, right? What we are passing out when we are going door knocking. We are paying canvassers, to make sure that we are hitting all of those 21 as much as we can, right? 21,000 voters, registered voters within my district. It requires a lot of bandwidth, a lot of foot getting people to the doors. So paying for our canvassers to really finish strong. We need that money for text messaging, right? A big part of our success for the primary was really hitting those text messaging campaigns hard, making sure that we were reaching voters live with updates on what's going on, where to go vote, if people needed rides, where they could, send that information to. And so text messaging is not cheap. So some of that money will go to there. And then lastly, people still are asking for yard signs, and these yard signs are not cheap. We are definitely wanting to, as much as we can, have as many yard signs out there as possible. Like I said earlier, to somebody, that is their deciding factor. Whoever has the most yard signs, that's who they're going to vote for. So it definitely brings value into getting one more voter to vote in our direction. So that's my campaign. And Denise, you can definitely chime in terms of donating to a political party, PAC, all of that stuff. And there's a lot that goes into politics in the U.S. that our community doesn't know, and we're just going to need a one-on-one crash course on it. But going back to donating financially, right? So you hear a lot about PACs, and what the power that they actually hold in terms of, making sure that their candidates are being well funded and they win because of what they're trying to champion.
What is a PAC, Huldah? You're speaking in acronyms. Let people know. Political Action Committee. That's a PAC.
Tell her, Denise. Tell her, Denise.
That's why she is on my team, right? You always have to hire and bring on the smartest people who are smarter than you, right? So what PACs do really, they champion the agenda of a particular community or a particular environment or business or whatever. So our people, if we can understand how that process works, that's how we continue to build power around politics, creating PACs where we contribute money to so that they can lobby for our causes. But we're not there yet, but we're going to continue to really address. So when you hear, candidates saying, hey, please contribute to my campaign, or if you're seeing a lot of this, Harris and Walz asking you for $1, $2, it makes a difference. It really does make a huge difference, right? And some of this might come in the name of Harris Walz campaign, but if you really look at who is asking you for that money, it's PACs, right? And so I definitely want our community to know that there's a lot to learn in this environment, and I hope my brother and your crew can consider one of these days just having a political one-on-one, U.S. politics one-on-one, and how all of these things work together to get a particular candidate where they need to go and what that entails.
But will you have time to come and do that once they give you your V8 and once they give you your flag to put you in your car?
The Suburban.
Or that only happens in Kenyan politics?
Oh, that only happens in Kenyan politics. You're not getting any flags in any car here.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we have another caller. I mean, it looks like everybody now wants to talk to...
The caller dropped.
The caller dropped?
Yes.
Okay, I think stage fright. Okay. All right. So now as we come to a close, actually before that, let me read a comment here. I'm seeing Washeke is saying Beatrice is challenging us. Very true. And then we have Joshua Bonyo says on the Kamala Obama Kenyans versus Trump Kenyans. Question is, whose policy impacted Kenyans in USA better or in future? The real question is, what do the two politicians have in place for the Kenyan community in the USA? Those who experience both Obama, Trump, and Kamala in their life one-on-one are better to explain. Okay, so Joshua Bonyo, please fafanua, like that paragraph, like you lost me a bit there, but please fafanua it. But now, Huldah, going back, of course, to the local Kenyan and the Kenyan and African demographic in your district. It's well known that elected representatives in Congress, for example, have the ability to influence public policy in African countries. And we have to go back to our countries because this is still near and dear to most of your constituents. How true is this as far as representatives from the local US legislatures is concerned? We know about Congress and the way they influence policies in African countries, but is there any way in which, in your position, for example, or other people in different US legislatures do things in ways that can impact, for example, within your district, for example, is there anything you can offer to your Kenyan constituents or to your Somali constituents or to even your Liberian constituents who are still very connected to their families back home? Huldah.
Yeah. Yes, that is something that obviously I continue to get questions on. How does your role influence, Kenyan policy or just international policy in general? And it's interesting. You have to understand from what context, right? Obviously, the U.S. Congress and the president have the international right to really engage in a manner that makes sense for the U.S. as a country, and when engaging foreign countries. But locally, let me bring it to a local level. So locally, U.S. officials, a House of Representatives, even the city representatives. For example, our mayor went to Japan, and Denise, you can correct me if I'm wrong, went to Japan and was, creating partnerships with businesses there to bring those businesses here to the city of Brooklyn, Brooklyn Park. And then also we have what we call sister cities, right? I think recently we just had the famous actor, what's his name? Anaitwaje?
Idris Elba.
No.
Nigerian actor.
Very famous.
The great Idikoko. Van Vicker.
No.
Chikwa.
Hey.
I don't know why he's drawing a blank right now, but
it's right here in front of Mshale.
There you go.
Yes.
By the way, shout out to Mshale. Mshale is doing an amazing job.
Yes. So Mufe the major.
Well, maybe Omosh, if he was here, would have known him.
There you go. Yeah. So he's a great Nigerian actor.
Yeah.
But anyways, so going back to my point, locally we still have influence when it comes to creating partnerships with businesses of foreign governments, right? That really foster collaboration and partnerships within the economic sphere, and then from a social perspective as well, the cultural exchange, that opportunity is there. I know that a couple of legislators, a good friend of mine, Senator Claire Overburton, she was a part of that class of the first ever Black women elected to the Senate here in the state of Minnesota last election cycle, and she just came back from Europe in regards to a collaborative statewide effort to increase partnerships. So what am I trying to say? In regards to Kenyan, you asking me directly how my seat might influence Kenyan policy. It's by advocating for immigrant-friendly policies, right? Supporting, depending on what partnership or who we are connecting with, by supporting, Kenyan American communities and pushing for sister city programs, right? Not only within, Kenya, obviously, but across the different communities that are represented here. There's some leeway that has happened within the Liberian community. There's some leeway that has happened, obviously, within the Nigerian community. But I think from a local level, but I think from a state level, we have a chance to really increase that partnership and collaboration. And another good example is I have a business owner within this district. His name is Mr. Edo, and he owns an entertainment, a club, and then a market, a grocery store, right? And a couple of other smaller businesses here in my district. And this man currently, right now, is back in Africa, trying to create partnerships and business connections where he's bringing those products from Africa to Brooklyn Park and hopefully expand that, because as our population of African immigrants is growing within this district, it's also important that we also bring in businesses that really cater to our needs as well. And so if you come to Brooklyn Park, literally, you can't drive a mile without seeing an African restaurant or an African store that really caters to what we're used to. You guys know this very well, right? Back in the day, we used to go to Kenya and you pack stuff with your favorite Roykos and you name it,
Curry powder.
Those things here.
Sausages.
Chili cube.
Those sausages, right? But now you literally can go down the street here in Brooklyn Park and go to an African grocery store and get those things right here, and so that is what I'm talking about when I talk about this collaboration, international collaboration. When we are at the table, we can definitely advocate for resources to go into that so that we can build our community and that reflects the diversity of this community.
Oh wow, so Brooklyn Park I think is a place to go. Next time when we go to Minnesota.
To do a live interview,
we can go there. No, we will go there and we say we know the member of House Representative here.
Yeah.
So
we ask for tea.
We just ask for stuff,
chai, mandazi.
Yeah.
Na tutakuwa sorted.
Yeah. If anyone asks us for to pay, we are like, no, we know the representative of this area. Put it on her tab.
Tunajua sonko.
Yeah. So yeah. So
let me know how that goes. Niambie.
Yeah, so quite interesting here. Washeke says in Pennsylvania 2 weeks ago, Trump vowed to carry out the largest mass deportation in American history. Many of our brothers and sisters could be impacted if someone is asking why vote blue. This should be a very valid reason. And we're going to get back to those brothers and sisters of ours who are supporting Trump. For me personally, I've wanted to hear directly from them, but I don't know. But we're almost getting to that point. And we'll be wrapping up. But before that, Denise, I want to come back to you. I don't know about the Liberian community, but the Kenyan community, I even had to apologize to Huldah at the beginning of the show for us not, getting to her campaign earlier during the primaries for an interview, because there was so much that was going on in Kenya. I'm not sure if you're in tune with that, but it was on international news. There was a major uprising in Kenya. and a lot of people got killed in that uprising. So Kenyans were very focused on what was happening back home. Why now, outside this big major event that was happening in Kenya, but just generally speaking, why would you say our African community, for the most part, is so plugged on politics back home, but very disconnected from the local politics in the US, which has a bigger impact on their lives? And I may be, I may be generalizing a bit, but at least on the Kenyan community, you've interacted with us, and we are on our politics daily, every day. I don't know if it's the same case with Liberians and other communities, but Denise, talk to us about this, like how we can cure this problem to get people activated on local US politics.
So yeah, Liberians, they have their Spoon TV, they have their TLC Africa, they have their own mediums and channels that they listen to stay connected to what's happening on the ground. We have Waterside Market here in the Brooklyn, and we have other restaurants. You go there, it'll be just like you're back home, right? People are gathered there on the weekends, they're having conversation, and all those conversations is about Africa, it's about Liberia, it's about wherever they're from, but it's not about, they're gathered here, but it's not about the conversations that are happening here. Again, I think what is important is the education. Africans believe that this is a land of milk and honey. Everything is perfect here, on the broader surface. They don't think about, in the deeper conversations, right? And they don't know how the politics is connected to their daily lives. Like, we're phone banking, we're calling people, and they're like, oh, I'm not going to vote because I don't want to vote for Kamala and I don't want to vote for Trump. And we're saying, okay, that's fine. But local level is way more important. And then we go back and say how important it is and how we can connect it back to their daily lives, right? What if a highway gets put into your community? How is a highway coming to your community going to impact you? Well, it's going to impact your livability and your life expectancy. High pollution in communities of color. What causes this pollution? Manufacturing jobs, right? The car manufacturing, where those cars are being built, that's going to be causing more pollution in the air. We suffer more from cancer, because of the health policies, right? Black women, we die more from cancer than white women, and even at a younger age in our 20s, because of some of the health discrimination that's happening here, right? And who is the person that's going to impact that? Hospitals are considered nonprofit entities, right? And schools are considered nonprofit entities. So their budget comes from where? The government. And so the state decides what the budget's going to go to these different hospitals and clinics. And therefore, that's supposed to impact the care that we get. And so decisions are about everything that happens to you is happening on a daily basis. Where do you go to decide, I don't want this to happen to me anymore, right? I don't want to be living in high pollution areas where we're dealing with lead poisoning, right? Where we're dealing with chemicals in our water, where we're dealing with chemicals in the way our homes are being built or maintained, right? Our water purification. Your city is the one that purifies your water. And to the extent in which they purify your water, it takes a city council vote for that to happen. Brooklyn Park has some of the worst water here, right? And every time it comes up for vote, the people who can afford water softener in their homes are going to say, no, we don't want to pay for that. But it's literally maybe $5 additional being added to your property tax to have a better water purification system that is going to be better for our bodies, better for our pipes, because when we have bad salt water, hard water, it destroys our pipes. It's causing you, again, as a homeowner, to have to cover that cost. And if you rent, whatever impacts that apartment complex, you're going to pay for it in your rent. So don't think because you don't own a home that your money is not being spent in the tax dollars. It is. That apartment complex relies on you to pay the mortgage and pay the bills. So anything that is impacting that apartment complex, as far as the property tax, bad piping, and they have to maintain the place, the upkeep, you're paying for all of that, and therefore they're going to utilize your tax dollars to pay for that. So whether you're a renter or homeowner, it's important for you to get involved. Stop paying attention to the politics back home. You can still pay attention, but please prioritize the politics here.
Wow, like I mean, I don't know whether that's something that we can I don't know that that's something that we can do, like especially when it comes to the Kenyans, like and with Kenyan politics. But now coming back to Huldah as we wrap up, on the roller coaster of U.S. presidential politics, because we cannot ignore the presidential politics because it's right in our face every day. Of course, you're a Democrat and a supporter of Kamala. You, however, come from a district that has, like a mix of, like Democrats and also has some Republicans and maybe even some Trump supporters. Kenyans and Africans, by and large, have supported the Democrats for a long time, and there's some people who've questioned that. But there's been a sprinkling of some fervent support for Trump from certain people in the Kenyan community, which cannot be ignored. Why do you think this is happening, especially because of the open hostility that he's shown towards people of color, immigrants, people of other religions like Muslims? And how do you think the Democratic establishment, or rather, what do you think the Democratic establishment should do to address this? Huldah.
Yeah, so that is a question that continues to plague our communities, honestly, just our nation in general, right? This man continues to show us who he is, and everything that has come up, I mean, if it was somebody on another political sphere, but whether that is statewide, locally, who had a couple of felons and the rap sheet that he has, they wouldn't even come close to a political leadership type of space, right? But that goes to show you the influence that he has, and unfortunately, all of the misinformation that goes out here that people continue to hang on to. And that is playing a key role right now as we are seeing all of these things, unfold live. As a Democrat, I'm not going to sit here and feel comfortable and confident. This race has never been, this close. It is so close. Like right now, we have no idea who is going to win this race, but it's going to take, especially the Democratic Party, to do anything and everything it can in the next 11 days to make sure that we secure a win for our democracy, for our freedoms, for what this country stands for, not only for its citizens, but across what it represents, the symbol of democracy around the world. And that's what's at stake right now. And this man has laid out a clear plan of what he will do from day one. And we've seen what he did during his administration. Yes, you can find information that will justify, why you support him. And sadly enough, Brother Ali, as you've mentioned, that there's a couple of people from not only the Kenyan community, but the African immigrant community in general, who continues to stand behind this man, even after his rhetoric around, calling some of African countries, I'm not going to say it on air. We know what he called, where he was the only president who literally put in place a ban of Muslim, even its own citizens, right? Like just that alone should have been a clear no. And then we come to January 6th, right? I was in a forum the other day, forum/debate, I would call it a forum, where, my opponent talked about, the fine folks of January 6th, and what they were trying to do. And you sit here and you're like, what world are we living in when we literally have people storming our Capitol trying to, basically tear down our democracy, and they're considered fine folks, and they should be given patents in terms of their jail sentences? Like, that is crazy to me, right? So when I hear our community, some members of our community, talk about, why they're supporting him, I can't, in my right mind, justify those reasons. Because if you're talking about conservative social values, and let's be honest, the old Republican Party, when we first came to the U.S., we were like, we're probably Republicans because they're family, faith, you name it. Like, that makes sense. But that's not the same Republican Party that is right now. And definitely Trump doesn't represent those conservative values that most of us immigrants grew up in. And when we talk about the economy policies, and somebody was challenging me about his economy policies, I'm sitting here going, have you looked at his track record when it comes to his own businesses and how he started his business and where he got that money and what he has continued to do to support, corporations when, the average citizen can't even afford to pay their mortgage, put food on the table for their kids, right? And so it's a tough conversation to have when people are so caught up in his lies and have taken that as the law, the truth, the ultimate truth, and it has been so ingrained in our politics that has created this division. And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the DFL party doesn't have our own issues. We also have our extremes where we also have to be accountable. But in the end, at the end of the day, we want to sit here and make sure that our democracy come November 4th, November 5th, is protected. I want to wake up November 5th, 6th and go, I did everything in my power to make sure that we save our democracy. And that's what's at stake here, and so it's very hard to have a conversation with our people about, why they support Trump. But at the bottom line, again, the audacity and the beauty of democracy is that you get to express your views, and you get to act on those views, and so the goal for the Democratic Party is to make sure that especially those people who are in the middle, who are independent, who are so sick and tired of this two-party system, right? And who still truly believe in the true essence of democracy, meaning that, everybody, it don't matter what party you align yourself with, you have a voice and that voice matters. How do we appeal for the middle ground? And that's where the battle is right now, because you have your extremes on both sides, right? And so the battle is really in the middle, and I'm hoping that the Democratic Party will carry the day.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, here before we wrap up, Joshua Bonyo was saying, I think this was towards Denise, wow, Liberia, the country that Africans who were taken from Africa back to Africa and now brought themselves as Liberians to America. These are strong people. They have seen life. So, meaning they have a deeper political grip since they have been in America longer than Kenyans. But I see Mora, well done. Win this, you have support. So Mora is already, I think, out of the names that were given to Denise, Mora seems to be
Mora seems to start because it was 2-1-1.
Yeah. So Mora seems to be sticking, and Mora has a nice. It has a nice tinge.
Mora Dennis Butler.
Yeah, Mora. Yeah.
Mora Dennis Butler.
Mora Denise Butler.
Mora Dennis Butler.
Mm-hmm. And then
there goes the Miss B, right? So the
MB, there you go.
Oh,
the Mora B. So I'm dropping Miss and I'm putting Mora B. All right.
Oh,
thank
Mora
you.
B. Okay.
Or
Moraa.
Yes.
Butler. There we go.
Yeah.
Or just B Mora.
B Mora.
Yes.
Mora.
I think I like Mora.
B. Just B.
No.
B.
I'll just be Mora.
Be Mora.
Nothing else there.
Get it.
Okay. All right. And then Washeke says, what is clear is lack of understanding in the connection of how politicians affect our daily lives, from property taxes to school funding. I think Africans are so used to dictators, and that's why they can identify and support Trump despite his rap sheet.
Well, some Haitians are still supporting Trump even after the debacle of Springfield.
Yeah, I mean, this is very tragic. But we also have to remember there's been a very consistent misinformation campaign, and people don't understand the power of these algorithms. You know, like the algorithms, they'll keep showing you, once you click, you'll end up in a doom cycle where they will keep showing you the same thing, and at some point you'll start believing. So if you had not, you know, like educated yourself from the, if you had not educated yourself from the beginning, you will be in a situation where you'll not know. I think there's someone who's no, I think one of you needs to turn down the volume. Okay, all right, good. Yeah, so I think we're good now. But I was saying, if you've not anchored yourself with certain values, or you've not properly educated yourself politically before you start going onto these online platforms, you will be bought by the highest bidder, because wherever, you know, like the algorithm will sway you is where you'll go. And I think, unfortunately, that's where some of these brothers and sisters of ours, it's mostly, I personally have to say, I've seen it's mostly men. You know, like in the Kenyan community, there's one particular woman that that we've seen. Of course, we're not going to mention her name, but it's predominantly, you know, like men. So I don't know whether there's something, you know, that's being said in men's circles to attract. And I'm talking strictly within the African community, not the African, because also the African American community, they also have their own experience, their own experience with that. So maybe Huldah, give us a pitch, one last pitch, you know, to that struggler, to that person who's saying, you know, I don't even know if I'll go and vote because it won't make a difference.
That independent.
That independent, or even that Republican who's like, why am I voting for someone who doesn't look like me? What pitch do you have for that person?
Yes. If I could show you some of the text messages that I receive, it's unreal. Some of those comments are definitely unreal. They just say that the N word has been used a couple of times. But for me, ultimately, it comes down to this: we have a democracy to defend. If we pride ourselves as the beacon of hope, as the beacon of freedom, what that looks like, and especially for those of us, you know, who've come from other countries, who've, you know, really embraced this country and have now called this country home, you know, it's a privilege to be able to vote and participate in the political process. So I want to encourage really anybody who has that privilege to exercise that privilege. I don't care what political party you're affiliated with. Of course, I do care when it comes to those of you in my district. I would hope to have earned your vote through my experiences and what I'm bringing to the table. But ultimately, I just want to encourage people to get out. I tell my team all the time, you know, even if you come across a door that is not supporting, you know, our team or the Democratic Party, you know, at least continue to encourage them to vote, right? Because that is the cornerstone of our democracy. And when we lose that right, then, you know, we lose our democracy. So I want to encourage everybody, especially in this election cycle. Again, don't care where you align yourself with, educate yourself. You know, that there's still a lot of really good resources and sources, legitimate sources of information that you can educate yourself in terms of, you know, whatever candidate, from the very top of the ticket all the way to your school board candidates, right, who hold so much power in terms of, you know, our students and our educational system. And so it's specifically for me, I want to encourage our community, whatever you are around the US, please help me cross the finish line strong. Some of these things that we're trying to do are not cheap. And now that I'm a candidate for the second time around, it takes money to run a really successful campaign. And so far, I also want to acknowledge and appreciate the Kenyan community for literally giving 80% of the funds, the money that we've raised this election cycle. So that means our people are giving. But when I look at the power that we have as a collective, you know, I was just telling, I think, Brother Ali, I was telling you, all I need is literally 400 of us to give $20. and that will be good. We will have everything we need to cross that finish line and finish strong, because how we finish will tell the story and will cast, will put me in a certain pedestal in terms of, my political power going into the Capitol. Like Denise said, this is just a part of a piece of the pie. When I get to the Capitol and when I've talked to, my friends and soon to be colleagues at the Capitol who've been there, done that, they keep on reminding me, like, Huldah, running as a candidate is completely different from once the campaign season is done and now you have to govern. There's a lot of politicking and political power and political will that is needed to really get some of the things that I am wanting to champion across the finish line. And like Denise said, it's about collaboration, but I want to make sure that I leave a strong sense of just momentum going in as a fresh rookie legislator, but with respect. They will look at my race and say, all right, she knows what she's doing. If she can do that for her campaign, then we can trust that she's capable of coming in here and helping really make the change that this district want to see and usher in a new era of leadership within this district. With that said, again, you can go to my website. You will get all the information that you need. But I want to give this opportunity to Denise to really make sure that she wraps everything up when it comes to a campaign piece of it and what I have missed. Because as a candidate, I have 20 million things that are in my head, and I'm probably missing some really important key things. I would love for her to just summarize what we're looking at in the next 11 days and what we can expect and what we are asking the community beyond just money.
All right, Denise, in a brief 2 minutes, wrap it up for us. Take it home.
10 days, 9 hours, and 53 minutes. We have 10 days, 9 hours, and 53 minutes to make Huldah Hiltsley the next Minnesota House of Representatives for Senate District 38A. And I know we can do that. How are we going to do that? We're going to show up to vote early. We're going to show up to vote on November 5th. We are going to call, make phone calls, do some phone banking. We're going to volunteer. And most importantly, we're going to give $1, $5, $20. There's no such thing as too much money to this campaign. Because believe it or not, in 2 more years, she'll be campaigning again to get back into this seat, right? And so we're going to need those same resources. Again, 10 days, 9 hours, and 52 minutes. And what do you need to do? You need to vote early. You need to show up on November 4th and 5th and vote. You need to volunteer, and you need to donate. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time and being with us here.
All right, thank you so much, Denise. Unomai, wahenga wanasemaje?
Wahenga walinena, kilicho na mwanzo hakina budi kuwa na mwisho. Meli imetia nanga. We are about to wrap this puppy up. But before I do that, I wanted to read something that a comment that, if you remember, Stephen Batty we had last week.
Yes.
He said something that was very interesting. He said, I said last week that losing an election does not mean that you have lost completely. It means that you have a benchmark to work from and
Yes.
polish where you need to advance in order to make better judgments next time.
Serious wisdom.
And this time, Huldah, you set a benchmark. Saa yuko wapi? Ako karibu kuingia. So about to enter.
This is her time.
This is our time.
Yes.
Mika Och, got there.
If he's there.
If he's there.
Yeah.
In 3, 2,
1.
So,
yes. So, first, I want to thank both of you, Huldah and Denise, for coming to the show tonight.
It's Mora. It's Mora. Please. Let's
Mora.
get the name.
okay, sorry.
Mora.
Mora.
We're getting used to it. Be Mora.
Be Mora.
Be Mora.
Be
Miss
Mora.
Be Mora.
All right, Miss B. Mora. Miss B. Mora. And be careful, Miss B. Mora. This name is going to stick.
Stuck already, bro.
Yeah, and your Liberian people will be looking at you and wondering what in the world happened to this sister of ours. She was pulled from the west all the way to the east. But we're all one and we all love each other. It's all one love. And I love it when I see African people working together. One thing I'll tell you that I have learned, like in the past, in the past 1 year, in the past 1.5 years with what was happening in Gaza within our Muslim community is the power of a group of people working together. Like as Muslims, we came together on so many things. We are very, very small part of America. We are very, very small population, but we were able, like right now, like even within the Democratic Party, because of the issues we brought up, like there's a discussion, like have we lost the Muslim vote or are they going to be there? So as Africans, if we're able to come together, we have more in common than what we have different, and that's what people don't realize. If we can all just come together like the way the Spanish community comes together, the way the South Asians come together, the way the Chinese come together, and make the politicians now start coming to us and not us going to them, I think we're going to see a very, very big difference. I want to remind you that you still need to contribute to this campaign. It is very important. The links are there. Like the QR codes are there. And we're gonna keep dropping them in the comments both on YouTube and also on the Facebook side. And I want to thank like everyone who was tuned in. There was a comment here that came from Joshua Bonyo. He says maybe why the Black Americans, not Africans Americans, support Trump is because Black Americans don't have the deportation problem, and maybe the Black Americans want all immigration inward stopped. Maybe they see immigration is taking their space. Those are Joshua's opinions. And people are looking at this very differently because of a lot of misinformation. There's also some people in America who believe that it's immigrants who are coming and taking their jobs
and eating their cats
and eating their cats and eating their dogs
and eating their pets.
Yeah, and eating their pets. So these are things that we have to learn. This was a marathon informative session. I think we will try to look and have another session, like once Huldah is in office, once she wins, and then we might also even have another session with Mora, Miss B Mora,
yes,
on just what Africans need to know, because there's so much. It looks like there's a lot of nuances that people don't know about this process, and that's the reason why most of the time they just stay out. They're like, oh, let the Americans do their thing,
and they're working doubles and triples.
They're working double shifts and triple shifts, and they don't know that there's a way in which they can impact things that are happening directly within them, rather than just keep constantly, just focusing on politics back home when your money here is being eaten by people that you don't even know, in ways that is not in your favor. Na kwa hayo machache, yeyote ambaye anataka kunipigia simu, nambari yangu bado ni ile ile 1-800 mteule, na operator akishika simu mwambie unataka kusema na mjukuu, na akikuuliza ni mjukuu yupi, mkumbushe ni mjukuu yule wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui, na sibagui. Kwaherini.
Aiden, Daddy loves you. Jerry, Daddy loves you. Nimo, Daddy loves you. Until next week, be blessed.